Chapter 361. A wide circle of friends. Marshal, this military power, Guanxi said cautiously. Wang Hao snorted coldly, you all arrived late and disobeyed military orders. Lesser offenders will be expelled from the army, while more serious ones will be executed without mercy. What do you think I should do? Guanxi's liver and gallbladder nearly split with fright as he hurriedly said, please spare my life, Marshal. I will surrender my military authority and also use money to buy my worthless life. No sooner had he spoken than the other young nobles also nodded vigorously, indicating their willingness to surrender their military authority. Three Bears rubbed his eyes desperately, unable to believe the scene unfolding before him. With just a few threatening words from Wang Hao, not only had he easily regained control over the military authority but also made a hefty sum of money on top. Was this scene before them too fake? Could it be they were dreaming and hadn't woken up? Everyone present was also stunned. These guys were too useless, right? Just by getting a glare from Wang Hao, they were obediently handing over military authority and even planning to use money to buy their lives. Surely this couldn't be a dream, could it? At this moment, an old soldier with a scar on his face stepped forward and said indifferently, we follow young Master Guanxi. If he decides to leave the army, then we will leave with him. A cold smile played on Wang Hao's lips. What kind of place do you think this army is? You think you can come and go as you please? The scar-faced old soldier chuckled and responded, Marshal, we have 999,000 men, while you only have 10,000. If we want to leave, no one can stop us. Who says they can't be stopped? Three Bears dashed forward with a burst of speed to stand in front of Wang Hao, with the aura of the martial emperor displayed unreservedly before everyone. 3 martial emperors! The old soldiers exclaimed, adopting fighting stances. The scar-faced old soldier's complexion became grave, Marshal, even if you use the martial emperor to keep us here, we won't follow your commands. So your attempt to subdue us is completely futile. Wang Hao's lips curled upward, I never planned to keep you here by force. As for subduing you, I don't see that as a problem at all. The old soldiers scoffed, not taking Wang Hao seriously in the least. They were members of the 4 ace armies, and their willpower was definitely not something ordinary people could compare to, whether it was Wang Hao's money or promises of high positions and rich rewards, none of these would sway their hearts. Wang Hao snapped his fingers, and Qian Wanyang scurried over to operate the smart bracelet. Suddenly, images appeared on the screen, accompanied by cries for help. Husband, save me! Daddy, where are you? Come and save me! Son, don't worry about us! Witnessing this scene, the old soldier's eyes filled with rage, their expressions turning terribly ferocious. At the same time, an overwhelming aura of murderous intent spread. Qian Wanyang, frightened, quickly turned off the video and retreated to Wang Hao's side, his voice shaking as he said, Boss, why do I feel like we're playing with fire? Don't you think a life where you can play with fire is interesting? Wang Hao said with a slight smile. Qian Wanyang swallowed hard, scared by Wang Hao's fearless demeanor as his blood pressure soared. The scar-faced old soldier's face was stern, Marshal, do you think that by kidnapping our families, you can force us to submit? As he finished speaking, the old soldiers glared at Wang Hao, wishing they could immediately rush forward and tear him to pieces. Wang Hao looked innocent, who kidnapped your families? This is a blackmail video sent to me by the DY terrorist group demanding ransom. DY terrorist organization. The old soldiers were stunned, then filled with rage. This damned terrorist organization dared to mess with them, they were truly courting death. Let's go, take down the DY terrorist organization. Right, with so many of us, even wiping out 10 terrorist organizations would be no problem. Everybody quiet down. The members of the DY terrorist organization may not be as tough as us, but they have the 7 demons under Marshal Saint. What do we have to wipe them out with? That. I don't care. We have to destroy them no matter what. Everyone stop arguing. If you go like this, do you really think you can rescue anyone? So what do we do then? Just stand by and do nothing. The terrorists sent a message to the Marshal, didn't they? Let's see what the Marshal has to say. What else can he say? He'll definitely want us to pledge allegiance to him. If he can save my family, following him isn't really a problem. That's right, we're all soldiers. It doesn't matter who we follow. Nonsense. Have you forgotten the commander's kindness to us? We haven't forgotten the commander's kindness, but we can't just abandon our families. We're all getting old. We just want to live peacefully with our families. If we lose them, what's the point of living? During the veterans' endless argument, scarred veteran stared calmly at Wang Hao and said, I've long heard that the Marshal has a wide network of friends. I never expected you to even turn enemies like the DY terrorist organization into friends. Wang Hao said with a smile, what makes you say that? Scarred veteran exhaled, last time, I heard you called on the 7 demons to take out 6 courage battleships from the military department. I originally thought the 7 demons acted just for the sake of the 6 courage battleships, but now it seems like you've formed an alliance. As soon as he finished speaking, the veterans glared at Wang Hao, their looks suggesting that if Wang Hao didn't clarify things, they would take action. Wang Hao shrugged his shoulders, you make a good point, but do you think someone of my status needs to ally with a demon king like the 7 demons? Upon hearing this, the veterans froze, and whispers arose among them. Do you think Wang Hao really formed an alliance with the 7 demons? I feel it's impossible. With an identity as fearsome as Wang Hao's, why would he ally with such a demon king and degrade himself? I also think it's unlikely. Wang Hao is supported by 3 major powers and 4 key universities. He doesn't necessarily care about the DY terrorist organization. That's true. With talent unprecedented and as brilliant as Wang Hao's, he wouldn't tarnish his reputation by associating with a demon who kills without blinking. But I heard Wang Hao really doesn't care about his reputation. Care my ass. The rumors you're hearing now are about Wang Hao's conduct, which is just like child's play. That's right. Wang Hao is only 18 this year. It's understandable that he has a brash and impudent personality, considering he's a young man who has achieved great success early. Now that the opportunity is before him, if Wang Hao wins a battle, his backers will definitely restore his reputation. Then, he will transform from a super genius to a national hero, and his youthful indiscretions will merely show that people thought he was immature. That's a good point. History is written by the victors, and Wang Hao has that potential. But that still doesn't explain that Wang Hao cares a lot about his reputation and wouldn't associate with the 7 demons, does it? If you were a super genius with a limitless future, would you associate with a mass-murdering terrorist and choose to ruin your prospects? Impossible. They're completely in different worlds. Chapter 362. Boss, some of them have started to believe, Qian Wanyang whispered with a chuckle. We're barely getting started, right now, my relationship with them is more like an unrequited love, replied Wang Hao, his lips curling upwards. But after I lead them to shatter the DY terrorist group and rescue their families, only then will we enter the phase of budding romance. Gu Yang nodded in sudden realization. He finally understood why Wang Hao chose to cooperate with the 7 devils and even give them 6 courage battleships unconditionally. He had calculated everything from the start, first, to win over the soldiers' hearts, second, to reclaim the 6 courage battleships, and third, to destroy the terrorist organization and replenish the military funds that were running low. No wonder you've achieved so much at such a young age, Gu Yang marveled. Killing 3 birds with 1 stone, your schemes are terrifying indeed. He was now completely convinced of Wang Hao's capabilities. At the same time, Gu Yang decided that from now on, whatever this marshal asked him to do, he wouldn't question it, he would just execute his orders. Watching the veterans whispering among themselves, Wang Hao raised his arm and called out, Gentlemen, even though you are not my soldiers and don't follow my commands, for the sake of your families, I hope you will listen to me just this once. That way, I can lead you to annihilate the DY terrorist group and rescue your families. As soon as he finished speaking, the veterans cheered in agreement. As long as the marshal saves my family, I will follow his lead. Exactly, as long as my family is rescued, I'm willing to temporarily follow the marshal's orders. Are you betraying the Supreme Commander? We're not betraying the Supreme Commander, we're just temporarily following the marshal's orders. That's right, for our families, what's the harm in listening to him once? Listening once will lead to a second time, how can you have no principles? I don't care about that, as long as the marshal saves my family, I will follow his orders. Are you all fools? This is clearly a trap, and you're jumping right into it. I don't know if it's a trap or not, but I do know that following this promising young marshal will not be a mistake. Indeed, the marshal's talent is unparalleled in history, following him will surely make us legendary. You traitors! Shortly, the 999,000 veterans found themselves at odds internally. A third were loyal soldiers of Guanxingxiang, not caring for the comfort of their families and steadfastly following Guanxingxiang, accounting for 30% of the total. Another 40% prioritized their families and agreed to temporarily follow Wang Hao's command. A further 10% of the veterans, persuaded by Wang Hao's limitless prospects, planned to support him. And the last 20% chose to wait and see, unsure of what to do. Qian Huanyang looked at Wang Hao with admiration. "Boss, you're really amazing. We now not only have the troops but also the equipment. If we could just reclaim the 6 courage battleships from the DY terrorist group, our corps' strength would soar to new heights." Wang Hao's lips curled up again. "We haven't completely won them over yet, but they can't escape from my Buddha's palm." Qian Huanyang nodded repeatedly. "You're right, boss. That old tortoise Guan Xingxiang has delivered the meat right to our mouths, not eating it would simply be unfair to him." Chen Ya raised the issue. "Boss, our corps is pretty much formed now, shouldn't we give it a name? We can't keep calling it the 5th Corps, can we?" Qian Huanyang quickly said, "I've already thought of this, boss. After all, you're the son of Marshal Wang Tianyi, born a young marshal, and now you're also a marshal. 2 marshals in one family. I think our corps should be called the Young Marshal Army, and the planet we're on now should be named Young Marshal Star. What do you think?" Wang Hao nodded in approval. The name Young Marshal Army instantly suggests youth and limitless future possibilities, which matches my style. Gu Yang asked, "Marshal, no, Young Marshal sir, what should we do with those old soldiers who refuse to join us?" Wang Hao looked up, thought for a moment, and said, "Let's not bother with them for now, they'll regret it eventually." Gu Yang nodded, though curious about how Wang Hao would make those old soldiers regret their decision. He knew better than to ask more questions. Wang Hao had his own plans. Qin Feng stepped forward, a serious look on his face, and asked, "Young Marshal sir, are we about to set off now to attack and eliminate the DY terrorist organization for the people's sake?" Wang Hao glanced at Qin Feng and nodded, "Let's go remove that menace to society now. I'm planning to send you as the vanguard." Qian Huanyang, Chen Yao and Gu Yang gave Qin Feng a sympathetic look. This was the consequence of speaking too much. The vanguard might sound like an honor, but it's really akin to a suicide squad. With Qin Feng's cultivation at the martial arts sect level, this was undoubtedly a tough assignment. At the same time, they mentally reminded themselves to never speak ill of Wang Hao, otherwise, they would definitely get on the bad side of the spiteful marshal. Qin Feng was stunned for a moment, then said with a resolute face, "Yes, I guarantee to complete the mission." Before long, the young martial army began to mobilize, with squads of old soldiers boarding the Courage battleship, adjusting their state, ready to face off against the DY terrorist organization. At the same time, 20,000 mechas were also transported into the Courage battleship. These mechas were spoils of war seized from the military department last time. 7 Magic had chosen 6 Courage battleships, and Wang Hao had chosen 20,000 mechas. However, these mechas had all been retrofitted, equipped with Skyfire Company's latest brain-sensing remote control systems, enabling remote strikes and ensuring the safety of the pilots. While everyone was busy, the 3 bears were sadly doodling circles in a corner. Xiangda said mournfully, "That kid Wang Hao is just too lucky. Not only does he have beauties chasing after him, but he's also easily subdued those old soldiers. We're completely useless now." Xiang Er complained, "Why are we so unlucky? Not only have we been bachelors all our lives, but when we formed a mercenary corps, we only got a few small fries, not even getting the feel of being in charge." Xiang San said angrily, "These guys are so useless, just a few words from Wang Hao hoodwinked them, making us miss even the chance to make an appearance." Qian Huanyang came over, rolled his eyes. Given the 3 bears' touching intelligence and their brains that only considered their lower half, it would be a wonder of the world if girls chased after them or if they had numerous fervent admirers. Cough cough. Qian Huanyang coughed, then respectfully said, "Esteemed seniors, our boss once said you are the highest combat force of the young martial army, a deterrent for others. We hope you will join us in the assault on the DY terrorist organization." The 3 bears' eyes lit up. They had not expected to be considered so important, the top combat force of an ace army, surely a claim that would attract countless girls flocking to them. Xiangda said with a stern face, "Since we brothers have come to support our nephew Wang Hao, naturally we'll help him flatten all troubles." Xiang Er nodded repeatedly, "Go back and tell our nephew Wang Hao, with the uncles here, no one will dare touch a single hair on him." Xiang San pondered, "Remember, tell our nephew Wang Hao to prepare fine wine and beauties. As long as the uncles are well taken care of, even if the King of Heaven comes, we will help him settle everything." Qian Huanyang's eyelid twitched, admitting defeat to the three bears. Their thick-skinned nature was truly extraordinary. Chapter 363. Young Martial Star. 5 courage battleships soared into the pitch-black starry sky. The veterans left behind on the ground had stoic expressions, but deep inside they fervently prayed, hoping these comrades could help rescue their families. Meanwhile, many of these old soldiers had sent the recent developments to the commanding officer at the border, Guan Xingxiang. At this moment, aboard the courage battleship, Little White curiously examined the miniaturized iron helmet in Wang Hao's hand. 2 holes were visible on the helmet, while the rest featured numerous colorful lights, extremely sci-fi. Wang Hao grabbed Little White's ears, threaded them through the 2 holes, and placed the iron helmet onto Little White's little head. This is a brain-sensing remote control helmet, and from now on, you'll be able to remotely control mechas. Wang Hao nodded in satisfaction, having finally created the first mecha combat rabbit in history. Little White looked disgusted. Your treasure baby rabbit, am a trendy icon in the fashion world, how can I wear such a tasteless helmet? Wang Hao shot Little White a contemptuous glance. This rabbit's shamelessness knew no bounds. It never wore clothes and yet claimed to be a fashion icon. Had the latest fashion definition become going nude? At the same time, Wang Hao felt he needed to properly educate Little White. He couldn't let it associate with those disreputable sorts, especially Xia Weiwei and her gang of female hooligans. They were a bad influence on his rabbit. The borderline. Commanding Officer's office. Guan Xingxiang angrily slammed his fist on the desk. These incompetents, with the 999,000 soldiers behind them, and yet they obediently handed over their military authority with just a glare from Wang Hao. Damn, even a pig would put up a better fight than them. The subordinates dare not even take a deep breath. They, too, couldn't fathom how these pampered aristocrats could be so utterly useless. To be honest, they couldn't believe their ears upon receiving this news. Even with 999,000 pigs behind them, anyone would be emboldened enough to arm wrestle with Wang Hao, without fearing him. But the result was that with 999,000 ace army veterans behind them, they were frightened into obediently surrendering their military power to Wang Hao. They had genuinely never heard of or seen such uselessness before. What do we do now, Commander? Someone asked. Guan Xingxiang pondered for a moment, then said coldly, Guan Shi and the others willingly gave their military power to Wang Hao. Whatever we say lacks legitimacy. Now, we can only recall those old soldiers. Alas! Everyone sighed helplessly. It was easy enough to recall the soldiers, but they could forget about getting the equipment back. With the right equipment, they could recruit new soldiers. Considering the relationship between the 4 school principals and Wang Hao, recruiting a million-strong army would be a matter of minutes. Of course, this new army's combat power wouldn't match that of the Ace Army, yet it was more than adequate to confront those alien races, even stronger than the combat power of the military department's newly formed 6th Army. Someone cautiously opined, Commander, if we want to recall those veterans, we must first rescue their families. Shall we dispatch troops? Guan Xingxiang snorted, we are currently tied up with the Dark Elves, unable to dispatch even a single soldier. What do we have to rescue them with? If I had troops, why would I form the 6th Army to resist the alien race? How are we supposed to recall these old soldiers? Someone asked. Guan Xingxiang thought for a moment, sighed, and said, first, let Wang Hao rescue the people, then we'll talk. I don't believe those old soldiers will always follow his orders. Everyone nodded, feeling that what Guan Xingxiang said made a lot of sense. Now, a large number of these old soldiers agreed to follow Wang Hao only because of their families. But once their people were rescued, these old soldiers wouldn't pay him any heed. After all, these old soldiers had followed Guan Xingxiang through life and death for decades. They wouldn't just cooperate with Wang Hao once and then throw themselves under his command. That was simply unrealistic. It's just that the military department's 6 courage battleships hijacked by the DY terrorist organization would probably fall into Wang Hao's hands too. They had wanted to reclaim the 6 courage ships, but who would have thought they'd run into the Dark Elves' invasion at just that time, with no opportunity to deploy troops to retrieve them, leaving Wang Hao to reap the benefits. The very thought was galling. Guan Xingxiang said coldly, furthermore, for the DY terrorist organization to locate the old soldiers' homes and abduct their family members so swiftly, someone must have leaked the secrets. Find this person for me, I want to execute them publicly in accordance with the law. Those present said somewhat awkwardly, Commander-in-Chief, we have investigated. The information about the leak on the old soldiers was provided by Skyfire Company, the Potion Guild, and the four principals. Guan Xingxiang angrily slammed the table. These damned bastards, I'm not done with them. Everyone bowed their heads, not daring to even breathe heavily, but they were thinking, you only gave him a marshal's title and no real power. If he made it easy for you, that would be the real surprise. Besides, with so many powerful backers behind Wang Hao, how could he possibly watch his younger relatives suffer such a mute loss? Commander-in-Chief, shall we go to the Seven Devils and ask them to release the people? Someone proposed. Guan Xingxiang's face was stern. The Seven Devils and I have never seen eye to eye, and now they are on the front lines, the main force against the Dark Elves. Do you think they will do me this favor? Everyone sighed, feeling there was no hope. Nightsun Star. A level 4 planet. This place was a haven for the scum of the Interstellar Federation, with a massive black market trading center on it where anything could be bought. Whether it was spaceships, various types of prohibited firearms and ammunition, or hired killings, everything was available here, provided you had the money, of course. And as the head of the Interstellar Federation's underworld, naturally, everything here was under the control of the DY terrorist organization, which was their main source of income. At the same time, Nightsun Star was also the headquarters of the DY terrorist organization. The families of those old soldiers were detained here, and those 6 courage ships were docked here as well. Moreover, on Nightsun Star, there were 10 million armed terrorists, but their combat effectiveness was poor overall, and their weaponry was a mishmash of sorts. In short, to sum it up in one sentence, it was a ragtag army, nowhere near the same dimension as the Ace Army. At this moment, in the outer space around Nightsun Star, 5 enormous courage battleships hovered there. Wang Hao sat on board one of the courage battleships, watching footage transmitted back. He saw the ground teeming with burly men who looked fierce and exuded a terrifying murderous aura. Without looking closely, it was clear how much blood of living beings these fellows had stained their hands with. 7 devils, you can't blame me for this. We had an agreement that you would help me rise to power, and in return, I gave you the information. Now, I plan to step on you to ascend to power. Whether you still want to collaborate afterward, that's entirely up to you, Wang Hao muttered with a laugh. Chapter 364. Boss, Qin Feng has already led the vanguard troops into Nightsun Star. Just give the order, and we can quickly take control of the 6 courage battleships, Qian Wanyang whispered. Wang Hao nodded. Send 2 courage battleships to provide fire support for Qin Feng. We must prevent DY terrorist organization's 6 courage battleships from taking off at all costs. Then, send 1 courage battleship for the rescue mission and another to collect the financial resources from Nightsun Star, and 1 more to stand by for support. Remember, our goal is only one, a surprise attack for a swift resolution. Yes. Qian Wanyang accepted the command and turned to pass the order. Chen Yao couldn't help but ask, Boss, attacking Nightsun Star out of the blue means crossing the 7 demons. If that old demon gets angry, we'll face endless troubles later. Wang Hao curled his lip. The premise of cooperation is that the military strength of both sides is not too disparate, but can you still call it cooperation when that balance is broken? Chen Yao thought for a while and shook his head repeatedly. Previously, Wang Hao had only 10,000 ace soldiers at his disposal, as well as so many backers, making the gap between them and the DY terrorist organization not so large, which made the distribution of benefits quite fair. But now, Wang Hao had nearly 500,000 ace soldiers at his disposal, and his military power could be said to completely crush the DY terrorist organization. Such a disparity in cooperation would only mean that the DY terrorist organization would greatly benefit. There truly was no necessity. Besides, their young martial army was now very poor, not even sure how to pay next month's military expenses. They might as well take advantage of the absence of the 7 demons, wielding the banner of eradicating harm for the people, and slaughter this golden pig. Not only could everyone in the troop have a few full meals, but they could also grab some equipment to enhance the army's military power. Most importantly, it would gain them a good reputation, so why not? Shortly after, 5 massive courage battleships broke through the atmosphere, charging towards the ground with ferocity. Suddenly, the hatch of one courage battleship opened. A fleet of mechas, along with several small attack ships, swarmed out from the courage battleship, furiously attacking the terrorists on the ground. Boom boom boom. The rain of bullets kept firing, with the roaring sound ceaseless in the ears. Enemy attack. Nightsun Star instantly boiled over, as burly brutes wielding weapons continuously shot towards the sky. In a square, 6 Courage battleships were stationed. Squads of DY terrorist organizations' terrorists rapidly sprinted toward the Courage battleships. But just then, Qin Feng led a group of soldiers out from a corner. Kill, first squad maintain defensive formation, second squad attack, third squad follow me to take control of the Courage battleships, fourth squad stay in position, ready to support anytime. Kill. As soon as the words were spoken, soldiers' cries of slaughter filled the air. The next second, the ceaseless sounds of fierce combat rose on the entire square, with the pungent smell of blood permeating the air. In front of a giant warehouse, a Courage battleship quickly descended. Gu Yang led the charge, waving his hand, "Be careful, everyone. The hostages are here. Remember, swift resolution, absolutely do not give the enemy a chance to breathe." "Yes." The soldiers answered in unison, their expressions solemn as they quickly rushed into the warehouse. "This little lowly is, cute no, my Meng Meng." Wang Hao froze for a moment, and a lot of information surfaced in his mind. First, humans had dominated the galaxy star system and established the Interstellar Federation. The planet he was currently on was also called Earth, which was the lowest level 1 planet within the Interstellar Federation. However, Earth was the origin of humanity, so it was under special protection by the Interstellar Federation. Next, he had a super awesome old dad who was an idol in the eyes of all civilians in the Interstellar Federation. In this era where noble lords controlled the Interstellar Federation and commoners found it hard to rise to prominence, this affordable old dad of his had carved out his own domain with extraordinary talent, becoming one of the 5 major forces in the Interstellar Federation's military department and one of the 4 marshals, known as Marshal Jinwei, Wang Tianyi. Moreover, countless civilians had also given him the title of King of Lightning. He himself was the legendary son of a marshal, a super second generation with a powerful background. But, that was 7 years ago, now he was just an ordinary high school student at 11th high school on Earth. According to his memories, one day 7 years ago, Marshal Jinwei took a large army on a secret mission and never returned. The most bizarre thing was that an army of 100,000 vanished without a trace, which became sensational news in the Interstellar Federation. And because Marshal Jinwei was a civilian marshal and very young, he hadn't built up his own family power. So after Marshal Jinwei disappeared, Wang Hao was also kicked out of the super aristocratic academy of the Interstellar Federation, the Royal College. Because everyone studying at the Royal College was a descendant of nobility, even the wealthiest could not gain entry. Without the backing, Wang Hao was far from qualified. Ultimately, Wang Hao was sent to his father's birthplace, Earth, to attend a civilian high school his father once attended, 11th High School. The high school here was very different from the former high schools on Earth. Besides cultural courses, basic education also taught martial arts knowledge and offered many secondary professions. In the Interstellar Alliance, not only were there martial artists who could shatter stars with their fists, but there were also many high-end professions like pharmacists, mecha warriors, weapon masters, scientists, and more. These were all the cornerstone for the progress of human civilization as well as the targets of various forces. The cute little lowly named Mai Meng Meng in front of him was also a student of 11th high school and both were in the pharmacist class. Originally, the unfortunate fool was a high schooler passionate about potions, so obsessed with potion research that he could go days without eating or drinking. But potion research was costly, so the unfortunate fool developed the passion excitement potion, low cost but high profit, a love and joy potion for men and women. However, while concocting today, accidentally a bottle got knocked over, and both the unfortunate fool and Mai Meng Meng fell prey. The original fool was an upright gentleman, with no intention of taking advantage, and banged his head against a wall, thinking losing consciousness would solve it, right? But he died, and Wang Hao arrived. Is this a chance from heaven? Wang Hao's mind was conflicted, should he be a beast or morally inferior to a beast? No, I was raised under the red flag and educated with the 8 honors and 8 disgraces as a promising youth. Wang Hao shook his head, but his eyes remained fixed on Mai Meng Meng. Squeak! At that moment, the laboratory door suddenly opened. Wang Hao, I want you to die horribly. Immediately, a voice clear as if from hell rang out beside his ear. It was a girl's voice. Why would she want him to die horribly? Could it be that the former unlucky fool was ungrateful after getting his way and someone came to hold him accountable? If so, that would truly be beastly and he wouldn't take the blame for that. Before Wang Hao could see who arrived, his stomach was hit with sharp pain, and he was instantly sent flying backward. Bang! With a loud crash, Wang Hao's back slammed heavily against the wall. Looking up, he saw a spirited yet violent little loli, wearing a martial arts uniform with a ponytail, coming toward him step by step, fist raised. This violent little loli he recognized as Xia Weiwei, Mai Mingmeng's close friend, 16 years old, with a cultivation already at level 8 martial arts apprentice, and the numero uno genius and flower of 11th high school. Whereas he was only at level 4 martial arts apprentice, 4 realms lower. Wait! Wang Hao struggled to get out 2 words. I, miss, have long known your shameless wolf intentions toward Meng Meng, luckily I came to check today, or the consequences would be unimaginable. Xia Weiwei snorted coldly. Had designs on Meng Meng? I have the great villain system, would I do such shameless things? Wait. What he had was indeed the great villain system, which seemed to require such actions to grow after all. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for inspiring others' sense of justice to eradicate evil, initially grasping the essence of the great villain system and gaining 200 villain points. Damn, to inspire others' sense of justice to take oneself out? How twisted does one have to be to do such a thing? Wang Hao was dumbfounded. Although he knew leaving behind infamy was his goal, playing it like this, even 100 resurrection golden coins wouldn't be enough for the game? System hint: good people live shortly while evildoers linger for 1,000 years. If the host cannot survive, it only means the host is too weak. Wang Hao's eyelids twitched at such logic he had no way to refute it. At the same time, he understood why there were resurrection golden coins in the beginner's gift pack. This godly item was overpowered. System, I want to use the skill upgrade card. Seeing Xia Weiwei attack again, Wang Hao barely had time to think and quickly dodged, not wanting to die here and use the resurrection golden coin on a violent little loli. The host currently only has one skill, lightning step. Congratulations to the host, lightning step has reached its pinnacle. Lightning step. Wang Hao was stunned for a moment, recalling that he'd been busy studying potions all his life and hadn't learned any martial arts, except for when his martial father forced him to learn this step skill in childhood. Martial Radiance Heavenly Demon skill was a cultivation technique, not martial arts, and couldn't be upgraded. Damn, such a waste. Wang Hao couldn't help but complain what use was a step skill when he needed offensive means. What? Such a waste. Xia Weiwei's face turned livid with anger. A lecher dare say it's a waste, so was ruining Mai Meng the only thing not a waste? Hey, big sis, you've got it wrong, Wang Hao said, speechless. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for again stimulating others' sense of justice, gaining 200 villain points. Alright. Boom. A deafening explosion tore through the air, shaking the ground violently. Withered Demon snapped to reality and reluctantly chose to turn and leave. Chapter 365. Borderline. The Demon Lord learned that Wang Hao had led his army to capture Nightsun Star and had stolen 6 courage battleships from his grasp. That bastard Wang Hao, the Demon Lord roared in fury, wishing he could tear Wang Hao to pieces. A few days ago, Wang Hao had sent him a message asking him to kidnap the family members of the Ace Army, saying it would help him seize power. After some thought, he felt that this was a big issue relating to their future cooperation and couldn't be taken lightly. Hence, without much thought, he agreed directly. But who could have thought that just after he had kidnapped those people, Wang Hao would start playing the good guy, bringing the Ace Army to raid his lair? How could he not be livid? Demon Lord, what should we do now? A man asked cautiously. The Demon Lord thought for a moment, and said with a cold face, I can't do much about Wang Hao from here, but Su Mu and those old guys are right here. I want to go and ask them how they plan to settle this account. Old Demon Lord, you don't need to find us. We're here to explain things to you now, said Su Mu, walking in with 3 principals. Hua Zigzu coughed, ahem, according to the message from Wang Hao, he said that he cooperated with your DY terrorist organization in order to maintain world peace. Now that the time is ripe, it's only natural that we can't let your DY terrorist organization cause chaos in the world, which is why he attacked Nightsun Star to eliminate the threat for the people. As soon as these words were spoken, Su Mu and the principals were boiling inside. The feeling of speaking against their conscience was just unbearable. However, to save Wang Hao's rotten reputation, they had no choice but to say so. Maintain world peace. The Demon Lord was dumbfounded. Wang Hao was clearly engaging in a double cross. What did that have to do with saving the world? Su Mu nodded, indeed, Wang Hao did it to maintain world peace, and your DY terrorist organization has done many bad things. Now that you have been annihilated, it's only just and fair. Just and fair my ass. You think you can bully me, the demon lord raged, just you watch, if you don't compensate me for my losses right now, I'll go back and destroy that little bastard Wang Hao myself. Go and try to destroy him, I dare you. Wu Tianlun snorted coldly, if you dare lay a finger on Wang Hao, the four of us will make sure you'll be joining him in death. You, the demon lord's rage surged. Wang Kunlun waved his hand, everyone, let's say less. This is a matter for the younger generation, we, as the older generation, shouldn't interfere. The demon lord was so angry that he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Their DY terrorist organization consisted of terrorists, where did young and old come into it? And even if there were younger members, who among them could be a match for Wang Hao? In a one-on-one duel, certainly, no one could compete with Wang Hao. And in a group fight, who could contend with the monstrous fighters of the Ace Army? Besides, when did terrorists ever care about seniority? If someone was displeasing to the eye, they'd just go up and kill him. This place seems pretty lively, hey. Jian Taifeng walked over with his hands behind his back. Senior Jian. Everyone present hastily stepped forward to greet him, even the arrogant demon lord not daring to show the slightest disrespect in Jian Taifeng's presence. The demon lord said respectfully, Senior Jian, please take my side. For the great cause of the human race, I came to fight on the frontier line, but Wang Hao went behind my back and destroyed my base. If this kind of behavior isn't severely punished, who will dare to defend against foreign enemies in the future? Jian Taifeng stroked his beard and nodded, you're right. If you can't even ensure the safety of your own lair, then who would come to resist the foreign invaders? Hearing this, the demon lord's eyes lit up. With Jian Taifeng's words, his losses could be compensated, and he might even ask for more without anyone raising suspicions. In that case, you should go to Guanxingxiang for compensation since Wang Hao is under him, said Jian Taifeng, patting the demon lord's shoulder. As for Wang Hao's unauthorized attack on Night Sun Star, let him resist the alien race to atone for his crime. The demon lord's anger almost didn't subside, as Guanxingxiang's relationship with Wang Hao was common knowledge. To have him ask Guanxingxiang for compensation was impossible, right? And what's this about offsetting merits against faults? Wang Hao was clearly the candidate for resisting the alien race. This was evidently just a brush off, and they were taking the opportunity to push things along while the current was in their favor. Su Mu nodded repeatedly, although Wang Hao saved the world this time, he really did something inappropriate, so he should be punished a bit. Hua Zixu gave Jian Taifeng a thumbs up, Senior Jian is absolutely right. When a subordinate causes trouble, the leader bears an inescapable responsibility. Wu Tianlun laughed, Senior Jian punishing Wang Hao by offsetting his merits against his faults, not favoring anyone, truly a judge Bao in this world. Wang Kunlun admired, Senior Jian really knows how to judge a case. Not only did the demon lord receive compensation, but Wang Hao also got punished. More importantly, it told the world that in these extraordinary times, leaders must keep their members in check to avoid chaos, or else they'll be punished together. Such great effort indeed. Jian Taifeng waved his hand modestly, you're all too kind. This old man simply did what had to be done. The four principals looked at each other, then bowed with a cupped fist salute, we admire the high moral integrity of Senior Jian, truly admirable. The demon lord felt his stomach churning fiercely. When these old bastards started sucking up, they were truly invincible. However, this matter between him and Wang Hao was far from over. Even with Jian Taifeng covering for Wang Hao, he would seek revenge. Otherwise, how could he, the demon lord, make a stand in the Interstellar Federation? Young Marshal Star. 5 Courage battleships landed slowly. A group of veterans on the ground watched the Courage battleships nervously, praying that their family members would be rescued. As the hatch opened, a crowd of old and young walked out. Wife. Dad, Mom. Son. My precious daughter. Daddy. Son. Husband. Some veterans quickly spotted their relatives among the crowd and, throwing any concern for their stoic image to the wind, ran with tears towards them, hugging their loved ones tightly. Qin Feng wiped the tears from the corner of his eyes, deeply moved by this touching scene. Qian Wanyang, Chen Yao and Gu Yang glanced at him wryly. If only he knew this whole scene was self-directed and self-acted by Wang Hao, who knew if he could still cry. Boss, now that the people have been rescued, what should we do next? Qian Wanyang asked curiously. Chen Yao and Gu Yang also looked eagerly at Wang Hao. Initially, Wang Hao had promised these veterans that they would follow his commands during the rescue, but once their people were back, they wouldn't be under his command anymore. Of course, some would undoubtedly come to join Wang Hao, but certainly not many, at most 20 or 30,000, which was not bad. But this small number, compared to 999,000, was just too big of a gap, simply incomparable. Chapter 366. Wang Hao stepped forward and shouted loudly, "Could everyone please be quiet and listen to me for a moment?" Hearing this, the crowd instantly fell silent, and everyone turned to look at Wang Hao. Wang Hao nodded in satisfaction. His self-directed rescue act had not been in vain, at the very least, it had earned him the initial respect of these veterans. Ahem, Wang Hao coughed lightly. We had agreed that once we rescued everyone, we would all go our separate ways. Whether you choose to stay or leave is up to you, and I will certainly not stop you. However, I would like to try to persuade you all to stay, even if it's just one person. Because right now, I really need people. Upon hearing this, some of the old soldiers' faces showed signs of struggle. In the past, they would not have considered anything and would have immediately rejected Wang Hao's invitation. But after Wang Hao had proactively rescued their families, they felt indebted to him. They knew their combat strength was not weak, and charging into Nightsun Star to rescue people was not a problem at all. But what about after the seventh demon's retaliation? What about the face of the martial saint? With these old soldiers alone, even 1,000,000 more would not be enough to extinguish the seventh demons. Now, with Wang Hao taking the lead, this accounted for on his head and freed them from future worries. Such a great favor, for these straightforward soldiers, how could they not feel moved? Moreover, Wang Hao needed them now, and it did not seem right for them to just walk away. Wang Hao waved his hand, and the 28 inheritance crystals he had found in the ancient ruins floated in mid-air. My method to persuade you is simple. As long as you follow my commands and earn sufficient military merits on the battlefield, you will get the opportunity to use these 28 inheritance crystals. And I only recognize military merits, not faces. Qian Wanyang, Chen Yao, Gu Yang, and Qin Feng stood stunned in place. 28 inheritance crystals, wasn't that too many? Especially that super-sized one in the middle, what in the world was that? Could it be the legendary divine level inheritance crystal? Thinking of this, the four of them felt dizzy. They truly hadn't expected that Wang Hao had obtained such a great opportunity in the ancient ruins last time. As soon as these words fell, the whole place erupted. I only recognize military merits, not people. What does that mean? It means that as long as you have military merits, anyone can use the inheritance crystal. Does that mean if I earn enough military merits, even my son can use the inheritance crystal? That's right, that's the idea. Look at those 28 inheritance crystals, there's even a divine level inheritance crystal among them. Unbelievable, the marshal actually has 28 inheritance crystals. I heard that the president's residence only has 40 pieces, Skyfire Company and the Chu family have 10, and the Guan family only 8, but our marshal has so many. I'm all in, for a better future for my kids, I must strive. After we retire, why do we continue to fight? Isn't it to support our families? Now the opportunity is right in front of us, we must strive. Sigh, we've followed the Grand Commander for half our lives, but we've never even seen what an inheritance crystal looks like, let alone used one. Don't mention it, the Grand Commander and his ilk are blood-sucking nobles, he just treats us as subordinates, or even as a bunch of obedient dogs. That's right, in the eyes of the nobles, we commoners are just dogs they raise. But the marshal not only saved our families but is also willing to let us use the inheritance crystals, there's no question, my life is for the marshal now. You ungrateful traitors, how dare you betray the Grand Commander? Brother, wake up. The Guan family only has 10 inheritance crystals, but our marshal has 28. Who has the better prospects, can't you see? That's right, even if you follow the Grand Commander, is he really going to let you use an inheritance crystal? We are soldiers who protect our country, not the Grand Commander's private army. We are free people, don't speak as if we owe the Grand Commander anything. As long as we continue to protect our country, who can criticize us? That's right, since we all protect our country, why not choose to follow a leader with prospects? Now following the marshal, we can use inheritance crystals. Don't you want to possess dual attributes? This, anyway, I won't betray the Grand Commander. He's hopeless. I think it's you guys who are hopeless. Qian Huanyang approached Wang Hao and whispered, Boss, out of the 990,000 old soldiers, only about 200,000 choose to support you. It might be difficult to win over the rest. Do you want to dismiss them all and ask Principal Su Mu to help recruit again? Wang Hao raised his hand to stop him. These old soldiers are treasures, far stronger than the new recruits. We should try to win every single one we can. Chen Yao asked doubtfully, Boss, but these people are even disregarding inheritance crystals, what else can we use to win them over? Wang Hao chuckled, the reason these people are rejecting me is mostly that they know they are old. Even if they fight, they can't fight for many years. Rather than follow me, a new master they know nothing about, they prefer to stick with the familiar old master and maintain the status quo. Gu Yang suddenly nodded, feeling that Wang Hao made a lot of sense. These old soldiers were no longer young and dared not gamble recklessly because once they gambled wrong, they wouldn't even have a chance to regret it. Therefore, more than half chose to maintain the status quo and continue to follow Guan Xingxiang. Of course, a small part decided to take a risk for a better future, especially since Wang Hao's trump card was much stronger than Guan Xingxiang's. Qian Huanyang suddenly said, then, Boss, are you planning to use the small life rejuvenation potion? Wang Hao's mouth curved upwards, and he nodded, exactly, my concocted small life rejuvenation potion not only increases one's lifespan but also rejuvenates people, even restoring peak combat strength is a piece of cake. Hiss! Qian Huanyang and the others gasped in unison. They couldn't imagine the kind of power this group of old soldiers would unleash when their combat strength was restored to its peak. It was known that although the four major ace armies of the Interstellar Federation were powerful, their combat experience definitely wasn't as strong as that of these old soldiers. And while the old soldiers had rich combat experience, their strength definitely wasn't as robust as that of the active duty soldiers. But now, if Wang Hao gave these old soldiers the life rejuvenation potion, they would have both strength and experience. The explosive combat power was terrifying to even think about. It would be even stronger than the four major ace armies, truly deserving of being called the elite of the elite. Chapter 367 Young Martial Star. When Wang Hao solemnly introduced the potion of little life, the entire room went quiet in an instant. Many people whispered among themselves. Is this potion of little life real or fake? It must be real, our honorable marshal wouldn't deceive us with this kind of talk, would he? But why haven't we heard of this potion of little life before? I heard that Marshal is a reincarnated demon, he reached level 4 Medicine King at such a young age. Level 4 Medicine King? Are you sure you're not mistaken? I remember the Marshal is only 18. Have you ever heard of an 18-year-old becoming a Marshal, mastering unity of heaven and man, and several perfectly integrated martial arts skills? I never heard of it before, but now I have seen it right in front of my eyes. Given that, if he knows about potions and is a monster, do you still have doubts? I instantly have no doubts. As the veterans discussed in low voices, Qian Huanyang approached an elderly grandmother with a bottle of the potion of little life. Grandma, this is a gift from our marshal, wishing you a long and healthy life. Qian Huanyang handed the potion of little life to the elderly grandmother. Thank you, Marshal, the grandmother thanked him repeatedly. The grandmother's son, an elderly soldier, also hurriedly expressed his gratitude, thank you, Marshal. As the veterans eagerly watched the grandmother drink the potion of little life, they all gasped in shock, incredibly excited. They saw the wrinkles on the grandmother's face diminish, her white hair turned black again, and she looked more than 20 years younger. Seeing this, the entire room boiled over again, all the veterans' faces beaming with excitement. I don't care anymore, Marshal, I'm sticking with you. Not only can you bestow upon us greater strength, but you can also give us youth, how can we not choose you? Marshal, I'm willing to fight for you with my rejuvenated spirit. The commander has been kind to me, I cannot turn my back on him, but as long as the marshal does not fight with the commander, I'm willing to battle for you. That's right, as long as the marshal doesn't fight with the commander, we're willing to fight for you. Marshal, we're willing to fight for you. Qian Huanyang looked around and exclaimed in surprise, Boss, now 2/5 of the 990,000 veterans have agreed to join. 2/5, that's over 400,000, that should suffice, Wang Hao nodded. As for those veterans who do not agree to join, have them all kicked out of Young Martial Star and added to the blacklist, never allowed to return. Kicked out. Qin Feng quickly persuaded, Young Marshal, you've also said, these veterans are treasures. Why kick them out? Let's make one more effort, do some ideological work, we might be able to persuade some more. No sooner had he spoken than Qian Wanyang, Chen Yao and Gu Yang gave Qin Feng a sympathetic look. Why doesn't this kid ever learn? He had just been sent out as part of a suicide squad, came back with serious injuries, and now he's questioning Wang Hao's orders, truly courting death. Wang Hao cast a glance at Qin Feng and said indifferently, these old soldiers used to be Guan Xingxiang's men, the old turtle. If something really goes wrong, can you guarantee they will stand by my side instead of his? This, Qin Feng hesitated. Qian Wanyang suddenly said, Boss, are you thinking of keeping half of the old soldiers and recruiting half new ones to train a group of officers loyal to yourself? Wang Hao nodded, it's always good to have a backup plan. If I really come to blows with Guan Xingxiang, we won't be so passive. Chen Yao looked at Wang Hao with admiration, Boss is truly a modern-day Zhou Yang. Guan Xingxiang is courting death by contending with Boss. Gu Yang exclaimed, young marshal is truly formidable, planning 3 moves ahead. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for successfully scheming, achieving exploit the strong by sacrificing the weak, benefiting oneself at others' expense, and controlling the entire army's path of a formidable leader. You have gained 3 million sin points. Wang Hao's eyes lit up. Indeed, scheming against others yielded more points. Now, he had 4 million sin points in his hands, and it was time to exchange some treasures to strengthen himself. Thinking this, Wang Hao turned and left. As he passed by Qin Feng, Wang Hao patted his shoulder, young man, hang out with Qian Wanyang and the others more. Some things can't just be considered in the short run, you have to think about the long term. Qin Feng remained silent. If it had been before, he would have looked down on Wang Hao and his group, but now he suddenly realized there was much to learn from them. Wang Hao returned to his room and asked the system, I need to exchange for the third sword of heaven breaking giant sword skill and elevate it to the level of unity of heaven and man. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for exchanging the third sword, Phantom Clone Slash, spending 500,000 sin points. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for elevating Phantom Clone Slash to unity of heaven and man, spending 500,000 sin points. As soon as the words fell, Wang Hao's body shuddered, his mind went blank, and everything around him changed, appearing in a bamboo forest. Boom boom boom. Suddenly, lightning flashed and thunder roared in the sky, and a man in white, calm-faced, holding a giant sword appeared in the sky. Phantom Clone Slash. The next second, the white-clothed man shouted loudly, turning into 7 figures. At the same time, 7 giant swords fiercely tore through the void, and 7 huge sword lights appeared out of thin air. Boom boom boom. Immediately, loud booming sounds surged, fierce cracks spread rapidly across the earth, a gale whipped up in the sky, sweeping across the land. At the same time, the ground beneath Wang Hao's feet collapsed in an instant, a hurricane ravaged the land, dust filled the void, and nothing could be seen. When everything quieted down, Wang Hao stared dumbly at the scene before him, seeing that the landscape was completely gone, as if the earth had been shaved flat. What excited Wang Hao the most was that the 7 phantom figures could be said to be all fake, or all real. Because these phantoms were all connected to the original body, with just a thought, teleportation could be activated. This meant that as soon as a clone attacked near an enemy, he could instantly move his real body there, achieving a deadly strike. If the real body encountered danger, he could also activate teleportation to move the real body away, dodging the opponent's fatal strike. As time passed, Wang Hao came back to his senses. This skill is awesome, capable of offense and defense, and really tricky when ambushing someone. Wang Hao nodded in satisfaction, thinking about whom to test the sword on. Still, Li Yuniang is good. His talent is strong and very suitable for sword testing. I just wonder how he's doing now. Wang Hao murmured softly, eager to know how the relationship between Li Yuniang and the demon Kula had developed. Chapter 368. Borderline. 4 principals gathered together. Su Mu sighed, Wang Hao, that rascal, not only has astonishing talent, but even his luck is terrifying. Hua Zixu nodded repeatedly, our 4 major universities have only had 4 inheritance crystals since their foundation, but this kid managed to obtain 28 from just one visit to the ancient ruins, including divine-level inheritance crystals. It's truly extraordinary. Wu Tianlun stroked his beard with a smile, from now on, the students graduating from our 4 major universities won't be given to the military department anymore, but all to this kid instead. Wang Kunlun nodded in agreement. That's a good idea. Rather than watching our students follow those nobles who chew people up and spit out their bones, it's better if they follow Wang Hao, that slippery kid. Su Mu shook his head with a chuckle. You all are dreaming too beautifully. Where does Wang Hao get that much money to sustain so many troops? Hua Zixu nodded. True, then let's first complete the recruitment for this young guy's army, ensuring it's entirely composed of the Ace Army. Wu Tianlun laughed. I've already made the connections. There's no need for you lot to mention it anymore. Wang Kunlun nodded. Same here. Compared to the leisure of the 4 principals, the noble lords were in complete disarray. When they heard that Wang Hao had 28 inheritance crystals in his hands, including even divine level ones, they were instantly unsettled. What they couldn't stand most was that Wang Hao actually planned to make them available for use by commoners. It was known that the nobility had always ruled because they held the inheritance crystals, though these crystals could be used indefinitely, they never intended to let commoners use them. This was their supreme honor, and a privilege only they possessed. Only if a commoner's talent was truly astonishing would they consider granting them usage of a crystal, and even then, the commoner had to become their subordinate and could never betray them otherwise, it was out of the question. But now, Wang Hao was actually making these inheritance crystals available to commoners and even declared that based on military merit, anyone could use them. This was completely breaking the rules of the game, shaking the very foundation of their noble rule. How could they overlook this? Especially the military department and the presidential office felt an unprecedented crisis. If Wang Hao continued like this, soldiers might all run to him, and the era of nobles leading the military department might come to an end. Even the presidential office wouldn't be able to recruit guards with strong talents, significantly weakening their position and strength, thus losing their ability to balance the major powers. Eventually, various powers would act with deception, ignoring command, and declare themselves kings. In the office of the military commander, Guan Xingxiang was having a meeting with Marshal Suanwei, Jin Xiang, Marshal Wu Dejin, Marshal Ghost Fox, Guo Jinwen, and Marshal Tiankui, Guan Yingzhe. Guan Xingxiang slammed the table. It's that Wang Hao again. We must eliminate him quickly, or disaster will strike. Marshal Suanwei, Jin Xiang spoke solemnly. It doesn't matter anymore if old soldiers join him, but our noble status must not be shaken. If the spread of inheritance crystals happens, we nobles will no longer be nobles. Marshal Wu Dejin nodded. Although there have been commoners using inheritance crystals before, their numbers were limited and never posed a threat. But if a large number of commoners start using inheritance crystals, not only is our status threatened, but our families might also be attacked by commoners, thus losing our inheritance crystals. Marshal Ghost Fox, Guo Jinwen sneered. Wang Hao is more troublesome than his father. During this resistance against the alien race, we can use them to eliminate him. Marshal Tiankui, Guan Yingzhe stood up with a calm expression and turned towards the door. Guan Xingxiang asked coldly, Yingzhe, where are you going? Guan Yingzhe didn't turn around, speaking lightly, I'm going to inspect the front lines. Also, don't involve me in these matters in the future, I don't like them. Rubbish. Guan Xingxiang slammed the table. You, set to be the next military commander under me, show no concern for our noble interests, how can you justify the nobility's cultivation of you? Guan Yingzhe didn't respond and left through the door. Seeing this, Guan Xingxiang was fuming mad. Military commander, calm down. The 3 marshals quickly held back Guan Xingxiang, trying to appease him. However, inside, the 3 marshals were secretly delighted, firmly deciding to support Guan Yingzhe for military commander in the future. That's because Guan Xingxiang, the old fox, was very domineering, always prioritizing the Guan family whenever there was an advantage, letting others benefit only after they had their fill. But if Guan Yingzhe became the military commander, with his personality, they would certainly be able to secure more benefits for their own families more effortlessly. However, considering Guan Xingxiang's current state, it seemed it would take a long time before he'd be willing to step down. The most up-to-date novellas are published on Fruitnoelo. Outside the presidential office, Ling Xiao's father, also the chief guard of the presidential office, Ling Hai, came to report the latest war situation to the president. Just as Ling Hai was about to knock, the president's voice came, what do you think our stance towards Wang Hao should be? Another voice spoke, President, Wang Hao's talent is known to all, and with his backing, it would be unwise to offend him. The president exhaled, I know all that, but the inheritance crystals are the lifeblood of my presidential office. Now that Wang Hao has 28, how can I sleep at all? The worst part is, he's making the inheritance crystals available for soldiers to use. Do you understand what that means? I understand. It means the foundation of our presidential office will be shaken. Outside, Ling Hai remained silent. He understood that given time, Wang Hao would possess the capital to contend with the presidential office. The president's voice, filled with murderous intent, said, "Go immediately with a guard squad to join up with Yun Chuan, and send him orders that if there is a chance, he must kill Wang Hao to eliminate any future problems." Outside, Ling Hai's pupils contracted sharply, and he quickly left. Both he and Wang Tianyi were disciples of Hua Zixu, had trained together, and were as close as brothers, even closer than real brothers. Watching someone kill Wang Hao was something he simply couldn't bear. Thus, he needed to tell Ling Xiao, urging him to swiftly inform Wang Hao of the danger. As for informing Hua Zixu, he dared not tell him. If Hua Zixu and the others knew, it would be difficult to calm things down. After all, with the Dark Elf army at their doorstep, any internal chaos would ultimately only harm the human race. Chapter 369. Young Marshal Star. In the Marshal's office, Qian Wanyang was reporting to Wang Hao, "Boss, we just received an order from above, asking you to lead the army to resist the alien race's attack within 5 days. 5 days? Wang Hao frowned. Could we recruit the remaining soldiers within 5 days? Qian Wanyang thought for a moment and nodded. It shouldn't be a problem. Principal Su Mu has already made arrangements, and those people are willing to join. Moreover, with the boss willing to offer the inheritance crystal and the small life potion, I think no one could resist this temptation. However, our military funds will only last for 2 months. 2 months? Wang Hao was stunned. Didn't we just raid the den of the DY terrorist organization? Why do we only have enough for 2 months? Qian Wanyang gave a bitter smile. Boss, we have 11 courage battleships, 20,000 third-level mechas, and 100,000 small attack spacecraft to maintain. Plus, we have to pay salaries to 1 million Ace Army soldiers, in addition to the consumption of various missiles, wear and tear of equipment, and regular training needs. These 2 months are barely covered by cutting it very close. Wang Hao scratched his chin, muttering, "It seems we must have stable income, otherwise, how can we afford an army, let alone dominate the world?" Qian Wanyang was stunned. Was the boss planning to cheat and deceive again? Wang Hao thought for a moment, "Get Principal Zhongli over here. I need to tell him how to make money quickly." Qian Wanyang couldn't help but remind, "Boss, times have changed. It doesn't matter what we did before, but now you've just won over those old soldiers' hearts. If you stir up any scandals, it might affect the morale." Wang Hao rolled his eyes. "This time, I am going into legitimate business, not taking any shady paths. Besides, how could those crooked methods sustain an army in the long run?" Qian Wanyang thought about it, feeling that made sense. Previously, although Wang Hao made a lot of money, after making money once, there would be no second chance, as it was a one-time deal. But to have money and to maintain an army consistently, he has to do legitimate business. Yet, Qian Wanyang was somewhat puzzled. Did Wang Hao really have a quick way to make money through legitimate business? Before long, Principal Zhongli arrived at the marshal's office. Wang Hao sat in his chair, with Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao, 2 of his protégés, standing behind him like protectors. Principal Zhongli looked at Wang Hao with a helpless expression. He thought resigning to follow Wang Hao would mean a joyous life. But who knew, right after he resigned planning to recruit soldiers for Wang Hao, Su Mu revealed his identity and successfully snatched his job, recruiting a large group of high-quality Ace Army soldiers for Wang Hao. Consequently, he was assigned to the kitchen to help manage the soldiers' food. Being the reputable Tianbei University's 11th branch principal, but ending up managing the kitchen, how could anyone reconcile with such disparity? Wang Hao waved his hand. "Principal, don't look so distressed. We had limited manpower initially, and since you were free, that's why I assigned you to the kitchen. See, isn't it immediately a significant duty when I've got people?" Principal Zhongli rolled his eyes. Originally, the same promises were made to coax him to resign, but who knew what would happen the next second? Thus, dealing with this tricky little fox, one should not harbor too many expectations. "Young Marshal, what did you ask me to come for?" asked Principal Zhongli. Qian Wanyang quickly said, our boss called the principal over to help manage the lifeblood of the young martial army's business. Business lifeblood. Principal Zhongli instantly became serious, knowing that managing such a level of business meant absolute importance. Chen Yao said, Principal, whether our young martial army's supply can keep up depends on you. Don't worry, even if it costs me my life, I won't let our soldiers at the front go hungry, Principal Zhongli assured, pounding his chest. Wang Hao nodded satisfiedly, I plan to do business in longevity medicine for the elderly. This is the economic lifeline of our young martial army, and absolutely no mistakes can occur. Longevity medicine for the elderly. Principal Zhongli was momentarily stunned, that sounded somewhat like health products for seniors. Wang Hao sighed, nowadays, young people are too extravagant, without savings. Hoping to make money off them is simply exhausting, and middle-aged people, knowing how hard it is to earn money, are incredibly stingy. Making money from them is truly laborious. But elderly people not only have saved money all their lives, they are also willing to spend money on life-saving purchases. We cater to their likes, and we can definitely make a big profit. Qian Wanyang asked, do you mean, boss, that we sell the small life potion? Wang Hao nodded. I believe no elderly person could resist the temptation of the small life potion. Chen Yao hesitated, then said, but where do we get so many pharmacists? You know, currently, potion guilds pharmacists are busy concocting potions for frontline soldiers, they simply don't have time to make small life potions. Wang Hao gave Chen Yao a disdainful look. Think broadly. We don't need so many pharmacists, just 1 or 2 will do. 1 or 2. Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao both exclaimed in surprise. How could 1 or 2 pharmacists sustain an army, and an ace army at that? Principal Zhongli ventured to ask, young marshal, you aren't planning to dilute it with water, are you? As soon as those words were spoken, Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao suddenly understood. This plan was definitely not impossible, as Wang Hao had previously sold salt water as the dimension potion to college students. Look, that's what you call talent, instantly getting it, very good. Wang Hao carefully appraised Principal Zhongli, smiling, I plan to dilute a bottle of small life potion with a ton of water. That way, we won't have to worry about insufficient product quantities. As soon as he finished speaking, the 3 men present were dumbfounded, the marshal was as unscrupulous and mercenary as ever. Mixing a ton of water with 1 bottle of small life potion, how effective could that possibly be? Qian Wanyang advised, boss, if diluted, the effect will definitely not be apparent, this needs careful consideration. Chen Yao also repeatedly advised, yes, boss. The small life potion has a miraculous effect, making money would definitely be no problem, but if we ruin our reputation by diluting it, it would be difficult to continue this business in the future. I wouldn't know that. Wang Hao gave Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao a disdainful look, remember, when doing business with the elderly, not only do we need to play tricks and cut costs, but we also need to avoid legal risks, making us appear extremely legitimate, certainly not a fraudulent product. So how do we do it? Principal Zhongli asked curiously. Chapter 370. Wang Hao hummed softly, in the early stages, we must make a big splash so that the world remembers our product, only then can we truly captivate people's hearts later on. The 3 people present nodded continuously, understanding that no matter the business, the initial phase is always the most trying. But once on the right track, it means a steady flow of money into their pockets. Wang Hao scratched his chin and said, first of all, we need a good product name. Let's call it Brain Gold. Brain Gold. The 3 were taken aback but quickly accepted the quirky name. Wang Hao continued, next, we need to advertise. Have Panji blast out ads for us, round the clock, bombarding everyone incessantly so that the overwhelming ads brainwash every single person. The slogan should be simple to remember, like this new year, don't accept gifts, accept only Brain Gold. Get a couple of elderly folks to dance, showing they are full of vitality. Our only goal is to tell the world our company is rich, very rich. The people present continuously nodded. Nowadays, to judge whether a company's product is good, one must first see if their advertising makes a big enough impact. If a company can't even launch an ad campaign, they must be short on funds and a sham. Wang Hao said seriously, next, we must ensure our product may not extend life, but it must be safe to consume, making money, I do have some conscience, after all. As his voice fell, the room went silent. Had they heard him wrong just now? Did he actually say he had a conscience? Wang Hao went on, after that, we need to set up stores and find salespeople. Remember, we need thick-skinned ones. When you see seniors, make sure to keep them around, don't call them uncle and auntie, go straight for dad and mom. Not only will this warm the lonely hearts of the elderly, but it will also show society our genuine care for them. Let the world know we truly care about the elderly. The three gaped in disbelief. Was this caring? This was outright shameless. Following that, we must guarantee that each bottle contains a bit of the life potion. Even if just a gram, it needs to be there so we can clearly tell the relevant authorities that we haven't deceived anyone. Wang Hao raised an eyebrow. The three were stunned. It seemed like they weren't really deceiving anyone, and it was entirely lawful. They were putting in the potion, only the amount was at question. Next, we're going to start a travel business, offering free trips for the elderly to visit young martial star, stay in hotels, and tour military camps, Wang Hao said with a proud smile. Qian Wanyang, puzzled, asked, why take the elderly on trips to young martial star? Wouldn't that be expensive? Wang Hao shook his head, smiling, we need to show them that our factory requires military protection, indicating that we are a strong and legitimate company. Also, by taking the seniors away from their homes and gathering them for longevity conferences, we can thoroughly brainwash them, making them willingly spend money on our products. With one transaction, I assure you'll earn hundreds of times more. And it helps promote us as well. The travel expenses are child's play, remember. And when they leave, make sure to give them some eggs, bananas, let them know who treats them the best. The three looked at Wang Hao dumbfounded, then couldn't help but burst into applause. What a deep strategy! Wang Hao continued, at the same time, during the longevity conference, we can invite a pharmacist from the Potion Guild to speak. Remember, they must tell the truth, explaining how powerful the life potion is. Then we arrange for a few elderly props to tell the others, since I drank this brain gold, I've truly felt better, my body has become younger. After a full set of eating, drinking, playing, and entertainment, if the seniors still don't buy, then it's just my bad luck. As he finished speaking, the three felt an impulse to worship. With such a mixture of truth and fiction, which elderly person wouldn't believe it and spend money? Boss, is what we're doing really considered a legitimate business? Qian Wanyang couldn't help but ask. Why wouldn't it be? Wang Hao curled his lip, we don't steal, we don't rob, we operate within the law, we're registered with the Industrial and Commercial Bureau, completely legal. Tell me, what's not legitimate? The three thought about it and realized, indeed, they couldn't pinpoint anything unlawful. Chen Yao asked, Boss, we don't want trouble with the officials, but what if these old folks come looking for trouble? What are we selling here? Life extension potions. Wang Hao gave Chen Yao a look of disdain, even if the content inside is minimal, it still exists, and as long as they drink it over time, the effects will definitely show up. These old folks should be thanking us, not causing trouble. Remember, we are legit business people, not crooks. The trio were left agape, and with such a lecture from Wang Hao, they suddenly realized they weren't deceiving anyone but were doing something meaningful for society. Qian Wanyang looked at Wang Hao with admiration, Boss, you not only care for the elderly living alone, but you also help them extend their lives and even take them on trips to prevent dementia. You're like an angel coming down to earth, a moving figure among the top 10 youths of the year. Wang Hao puffed out his chest and modestly said, all of this is nothing special, just our way of contributing to society. Qian Wanyang and the rest twitched at the corner of their mouths, thinking, can this young marshal have a bit more shame? Wang Hao instructed, remember, this brain gold is the lifeline of our military group. We must recruit more agents throughout the Interstellar Federation. No, now that the two federations are cooperating, we can expand our business. Don't worry, young marshal. I assure you the task will be completed. Principal Zhongli saluted, then curiously asked, so, how much should we price a bottle of this brain gold? After a moment's thought, Wang Hao said, as the saying goes, everything in the world has a price, except for life itself, I think 1,000 interstellar coins per bottle. As soon as he finished speaking, the three stood petrified. Sure enough, that's a steep price. How many bottles would they have to fill with a ton of water? At the same time, they also realized that even if only 1 in 100 million elderly people bought it, they could support the expenses of a military group. After all, they already owned big items like the Courage battleship and just needed to spend money on maintenance, which, although costly when added up, was just a slight cut that didn't really hurt. At that moment, Gu Yang walked in, reporting to the young marshal, Lady Weiwei is waiting outside for you. Xia Weiwei. Wang Hao was stunned. What could this violent little Lolita want with him? When Wang Hao and his entourage arrived at the reception hall, they saw Xia Weiwei pouting, sitting there unwillingly. And next to Xia Weiwei was an extremely charming woman whose mature charm was second to none. Next to this woman, Xia Weiwei was completely like a naive child. However, judging by their facial features, the two had about a 60% resemblance, which likely meant that this woman was Xia Weiwei's mother. Wang Hao was stunned. What was Xia doing bringing her mother here for no reason? Who cares why she's here? Wang Hao sneered, when it comes to dealing with women, I've never been afraid of anyone. Gu Yang looked up to him in admiration. Though he had slept with countless starlets and considered himself quite the player, it was only after meeting Wang Hao that he realized quantity simply couldn't compare with quality. Chapter 371. In the reception hall. Boss, why do I get the feeling that the person coming isn't here with good intentions? Qian Wanyang lowered his voice, it couldn't be because you've been bullying Lady Weiwei too much lately, so she went back home to call her parents, could it? Wang Hao shook his head, Xia isn't the kind of petty person, she probably wouldn't do that. Gu Yang reminded, young marshal, our legion only has 10,000 sets of genuine ace army equipment, the rest of the 990,000 sets are of the next level down. But if you can handle this person, then we will have completely uniform ace army equipment. You want me to seduce Xia Weiwei's mom? Wang Hao was shocked. Even if he was shameless, he couldn't bring himself to become Xia Weiwei's godfather. As soon as he finished speaking, the three underlings burst out laughing, completely bowing down to their imaginative boss. Young marshal, I didn't mean for you to seduce her, I meant for you to handle Miss Xia Weiwei. Gu Yang wiped the sweat from his forehead, thankful that Xia Weiwei's mom hadn't heard that, otherwise Wang Hao would surely do him in. If you had told me earlier, I would have known. You scared me. Wang Hao shot Gu Yang a disdainful look and strode over to Xia Weiwei. Gu Yang was speechless, he had clearly explained himself, but this young marshal with his quick leaps in thought had misunderstood. Of course, it might not have been a misunderstanding, he might have just been causing trouble for fun. Oh Xia, what brings you to me today? You don't want to have a little PK with me, do you? Wang Hao approached Xia Weiwei, glancing at the woman beside her. What? Afraid to take me on alone, so you brought your sister too? Qian Wanyang, Chen Yao and Gu Yang couldn't help but marvel at his audacity. Anyone could tell they were mother and daughter with just a glance at how well Xia Weiwei's mom looked after herself. Yet Wang Hao boldly lied and claimed they were sisters. Xia Weiwei's mom covered her mouth and laughed, sweet talker, I'm not Weiwei's sister. I'm her mother, Lin Suiao. Ah! How could you possibly be Xia Weiwei's mother? I can't see it at all. Wang Hao exclaimed. Lin Suiao's smile broadened, although she knew Wang Hao was spouting nonsense, what woman doesn't love to be called beautiful? Bootlicker. Xia Weiwei muttered crossly. Lin Suiao glanced at Xia Weiwei, making her instantly behave and stop the backtalk. Wang Hao was taken aback, this violent little loli was always confrontational, but today she turned into a well-behaved child with just a look from her mom. Isn't that a bit exaggerated? Lin Suiao smiled, actually, I came today to propose an alliance on behalf of the Xia family. Alliance? Wang Hao was stunned. Lin Suiao nodded. This time, my family's Weiwei will lead the Xia family's private army to repel the alien race. She is young and will need you to take care of her. Private army? Wang Hao froze. It was well known in the Interstellar Federation that families able to have private armies were usually ancient clans of 10,000 years, with incredibly deep roots, otherwise, they couldn't sustain a private army's expenses. Gu Yang tugged at Wang Hao, whispering, young marshal, I heard that the Xia family's private army is terrifyingly powerful, even stronger than the Ace army by several levels. No way. Wang Hao looked at Xia Weiwei incredulously. He had always heard that Xia Weiwei's family was influential. But he never imagined that they would have a private army that was even stronger than the Ace army. Lin Suiao stood up, laughing lightly, I won't disturb you young folks catching up. Remember to take good care of Weiwei for me, this little one has been mischievous since she was young. Wang Hao wrapped his arm around Xia Weiwei's slender waist and patted his chest to assure, don't worry, sister, I will surely take good care of Wei for you. I'm reassured then. Lin Suiao smiled faintly, tapped her toes on the ground, and floated away lightly. Darn it, Xia Wei, what level of cultivation does your mom have? Wang Hao exclaimed in surprise, feeling secretly relieved that he hadn't flirted with this beauty, or else he would definitely be in trouble. Xia Wei slapped away Wang Hao's hand, huffing, what cultivation my mom has is none of your business. Let me tell you, we're only allies on the surface, you'd better not interfere with my actions. Wang Hao pursed his lips, sounds like I'm so eager to ally with you. Better not. Xia Wei lifted her proud chin and turned to leave. Wang Hao's lips curled up, murmuring, interested in an alliance? Not really. But I am very interested in the Xia family's private army that's even stronger than the Ace army. After saying that, Wang Hao turned back to his room, planning to cultivate some while he had time, in case something unexpected happened on the battlefield. Time flew by, and 3 days blinked past. The young martial army was busily recruiting, while Principal Zhong Li was occupied searching for a proxy. Meanwhile, at the border front line against the alien race, younger generations from various powers gathered together. At that moment, in a large hall, many young men and women assembled. They included people from the Interstellar Federation and the Yaotian Federation, their cultivation not very high, the highest being of the martial king level. In any case, all individuals gathered here were the next generation's hope for the human race, their elite talents. Their purpose for gathering today was clear, to elect a leader to unify and coordinate them in a counterattack against the alien race's large armies. Of course, the main reason was that as armies from various powers kept increasing, countless major and minor powers intermingled, causing relentless internal conflicts. The primary discrepancy between the two major federations only escalated the battles. If they didn't elect a leader soon, these internal conflicts were sure to intensify. By then, they might destroy themselves before even engaging in battle. Thus, electing a leader was currently an urgent matter. At a long table, representatives from all parties sat down. Liao Yunchuan looked at a young man opposite him, Mo Junlin, the son of the president of the Yaotian Federation, sharing a similar status. He was Liao Yunchuan's most formidable competitor in this election for the leadership. Liao Yunchuan softly started, regarding the selection of the leader, I really think it's unnecessary. Just let me be the leader. As soon as he finished speaking, a wave of scoffs filled the room. Aren't you dreaming? Just because you're the president's son, do you think everyone should give you face? Take a good look at yourself in the mirror, who here has a simple identity? People who don't know might think the Interstellar Federation is dominated by just the president's house. In my opinion, Guan Tian from the military department has a million-strong army. He's qualified. Nonsense, only our Yaotian Federation's Mo Junlin has the credentials to be the leader. Chapter 372. Liao Yunchuan ignored the surrounding sneers and said indifferently, I know you all don't agree with me, but I must say that I have brought 200,000 guards with me. Do I not have the qualifications? Guard squad? And 200,000. The people present gasped in shock. You must understand that among the 5 major forces of the Interstellar Federation, apart from the Potion Guild, the other 4 all possess their own top-level legions. And the President's Guard Squad is even stronger than the military department's Ace Army. However, while the strength of the Guard Squad is formidable, there is a significant difference in numbers. Because the military department has 4 million Ace Army soldiers, yet the President only employs 1 million guards. The reason they have fewer than the military department is that each of the 5 major forces of the Interstellar Federation has its strengths, and they need to work together to unleash the most formidable combat power. The soldiers of the military department are regular troops, responsible for directly confronting the enemy on the battlefield. The President's Guard Squad acts like special forces, delivering fatal blows to the enemy. The mercenary group of the Adventurers Guild serves as scouts, tasked with gathering intelligence and simultaneously harassing the enemy force's stability. Potion Guild has a simpler role, acting as medics, healing the injured at home, and concocting potions. The Skyfire Company is not only responsible for manufacturing weapons but also for transporting these supplies to the front line. Thus, each of the 5 major forces has its duties, not obstructing each other. Should conflicts arise, the President's office mediates. Now, however, with Liao Yunchuan bringing out 200,000 guards, if a battle were to erupt with the alien race, they would certainly have the upper hand. Of course, this assumes the numbers are not vastly different, otherwise, Even with the formidable combat strength of the guard squad, facing 100 to 1 would be impossible. Liao Yunchuan, do you think possessing 200,000 guards is impressive? Mo Junlin smiled subtly and said, I've heard that there's a young man named Wang Hao in your Interstellar Federation. Not only does he possess astonishing talent, but his strategic acumen is also formidable. More importantly, he commands an ace army. I believe he is much more qualified to be this leader than you are. As soon as these words fell, the entire room burst into an uproar. Is that true? An entire ace army, doesn't that mean he has 1,000,000 soldiers at his command? Yes, I've heard that Wang Hao indeed commands 1,000,000-strong army, though not all are from the ace army. What do you mean? I heard that only 10,000 of Wang Hao's troops are equipped to the standard of the ace army, the rest are not, and half of them are even retired veterans. That's not important, the significant part is that Wang Hao has 11 courage battleships. Wow, that's amazing! If he takes them to the battlefield, wouldn't he be invincible against everyone and everything? That's true. Repelling the alien race would be like mowing down rotten wood, far stronger than 200,000 guards. If that's the case, then I feel Wang Hao should be the leader this time. This makes sense. Strong innate talent, strong troops in hand, he indeed is the best choice for the leader. Liao Yunchuan's face turned utterly dark, and he wished he could kill Mo Junlin, that bastard. Initially, the position of the leader was only contested between them two, but this bastard had to bring up Wang Hao, now unexpectedly adding another competitor out of nowhere. Mo Junlin couldn't help but ask, Mo Junlin, what are you up to? No wonder Wang Hao crippled your limbs and suppressed you at every turn, you can't even see this clear intention. Mo Junlin gave Song Ji a disdainful look. You, Song Ji's expression turned cold. All right, seeing as you understand nothing, I'll tell you, Mo Junlin whispered, I've received information that Wang Hao is giving the inheritance crystals to his soldiers, which is completely undermining the foundation of the presidential office and the military department. Now if we push, and place Wang Hao in the leader's position, do you think Liao Yunchuan and Guan Tian would be content being suppressed by him? If they are not content, won't fighting start? You want to incite internal conflicts within the Interstellar Federation. Song Ji frowned, but what benefits does this bring us? I really admire your ignorance, Mo Junlin said with a speechless expression. If these two sides start fighting, would they have the time to worry about the alien race? If that happens, wouldn't the military honors from this attack on the alien race be ours? Song Ji suddenly understood and gave Mo Junlin a thumbs up, showing his admiration. Actually, to put it bluntly, the leader's position is just a title, it's hard to say how many forces would actually obey. Instead of that, it's better to use this title to incite internal fighting within the Interstellar Federation and then solely reap the fruits of victory. Most importantly, it would plant a seed of hatred within the Interstellar Federation, which would be very helpful in the future. Just then, a group of people in black burst through the door, draped in black cloaks, like guards of the Grim Reaper. Leading the guards was Xia Weiwei, the violent little loli, dressed in a set of bright red armor, walking in with a red cloak. That Wang Hao has no time to be a leader, I'll take the position. Xia Weiwei bravely took her seat in the leader's spot as the guards behind her scanned around with fierce eyes, and actually, no one dared to meet their gaze. Mo Junlin frowned, feeling that things were somewhat out of his control. He hadn't expected the Xia family's young mistress to be interested in the leader's position. However, if this could provoke a conflict between Wang Hao and the Xia family, wouldn't everything return to the starting point? In the dark universe, 10 massive courage battleships were neatly lined up, traveling in formation, with the words Young Martial Army printed on the battleships. In recent days, Wang Hao, who had secluded himself, broke through to level 6 martial arts sect, which made his strength increase once again. At this moment, Wang Hao was sitting in the cockpit of one of the courage battleships, stroking little White's soft white fur, listening to Jian Wanyang's report. Boss, Pan Ji has started advertising brain gold, and Principal Zhong Li has found many agents. The first batch of elderly people has already arrived at Young Martial Star and they are very interested in brain gold, Jian Wanyang reported. Wang Hao nodded and asked, the safety at home, no issues there, right? Jian Wanyang thought for a moment. We've left 50,000 veterans on Young Martial Star, and a courage battleship, along with more than a dozen level 2 battleships patrolling outside Young Martial Star every day, there should be no problems. After all, those major powers have all gone to the front lines, and currently in the Interstellar Federation, no power can pose a threat to us. Wang Hao squinted, remind the soldiers guarding the home to be vigilant. No one knows when the DY terrorist organization will come seeking revenge. If they don't want to die too early, they better be alert. Qian Wanyang couldn't help but ask, "Boss, last time we attacked Night Sin Star, we eliminated 60% of the terrorists. I think they won't be able to launch an attack on us in the short term." Wang Hao snorted, "Do these terrorists play by game rules with you? What if they hit us with a bottle of zombie virus? Then would young Marshal Star even be worth developing any more?" Qian Wanyang nodded, "I'll issue the order now, let everyone be on their guard. If they encounter any suspicious individuals, they must be captured and interrogated harshly." At that moment, Chen Yao walked over, "Boss, we've reached the border of the alien race. According to the latest news, various powers are currently meeting to choose a leader and Miss Xia Weiwei is very interested in the leader's position. If nothing unexpected happens, the leader will be Miss Xia Weiwei." Chapter 373. Xia going to be a leader. Wang Hao was completely surprised, unable to fathom what the violent loli was up to this time. However, this girl now had a private army of the Xia family that was even more powerful than the Ace army. So, it was better to steer clear of her, as he definitely didn't want to wage a war against this violent loli and waste ammunition. Soon, 10 courage battleships docked on a third-level planet on the border named Mingshan Star. When various forces saw the imposing and domineering 10 courage battleships, cries of astonishment constantly erupted. "Is this Wang Hao's young martial army? It's really incredible. I heard that the military commander only gave Wang Hao a martial title, everything else, he achieved on his own. Built it on his own? Brother, you're not joking, right?" "Of course not. They say Wang Hao first sold military ranks to noble scions, making a fortune, and then when these noble scions had raised their troops, he reclaimed the military power, playing them like fools." "Damn, are you sure this isn't a joke?" "Exactly. Are those noble scions idiots? Why would they agree to give up military control?" "That, I don't know. It's said that Wang Hao just glared at them, and those wastrel kids from Guanxi just obediently handed over the military control. Damn, even if the Guanxi scions are useless, how did Wang Hao manage to win over those soldiers?" "Well, you can't deny Wang Hao's luck. They say the DY terrorist organization had kidnapped these veterans' families, and then Wang Hao led them to save their people." "Hold on, you're saying the DY terrorist organization kidnapped these veterans' families? What do these terrorists want with the families of veterans?" "Who knows that? Anyway, Wang Hao managed to win the veterans' loyalty by saving their families and then using inheritance crystals and little life potions as bait." "What? Inheritance crystals?" "Yes, the inheritance crystals, and not just 1 or 2 but 28. Damn, where did this guy get so many inheritance crystals? They say he found them in an ancient relic. Besides being terrifyingly talented and lucky, the scariest part is, this guy isn't just some cultivation idiot. Even if he isn't an idiot, now that he's showing the inheritance crystals, it means he's provoking all the nobles." "True, I heard that in this resistance against the alien race, the nobility has decided to isolate Wang Hao. Now Wang Hao is done for. From what I've heard, this time the alien race has 300 million united forces. Even if his 1 million strong army is the Ace army, trying to show off here is genuinely tough." Qian Wanyang frowned, "Boss, if those nobles really isolate us, won't we be in danger?" Wang Hao curled his lip, "Dangerous, so what? I never planned on making a show of myself. Staying at home and playing League of Legends is much better." Qian Wanyang, Chen Yao, Gu Yang, Qin Feng, the 4 of them were instantly stunned. What was this young marshal up to? Everyone had come this far, and he still didn't plan to go to the battlefield? Gu Yang hurriedly came forward to persuade, "Young marshal, this time the military merits can be exchanged for many strategic weapons, we can't just give up like this. How about we go find Lady Xia Weiwei, Lady Li Xian, Lady Qian Qin, Lady Meng Meng. I believe they will definitely form an alliance with the young marshal, then we won't be considered isolated." Wang Hao said righteously, "I am a dignified marshal, commanding a million-strong army. Am I the type of person whose eyes light up at the sight of weapons? Also, how could I rely on women? If that gets out, how could I face anyone in the martial world?" As soon as he finished speaking, the 4 underlings were instantly shocked. This guy just said he didn't like weapons? And didn't rely on women? Who was the one that previously boasted about living off women and who did all kinds of deceits for those powerful weapons? Gu Yang awkwardly smiled, "It was my oversight. Wang Hao waved his hand, forget it, considering it's your first offense, I won't hold it against you. After speaking, Wang Hao, holding Little White, walked towards the meeting hall and burst into song. The river flows eastward, the stars above align with the Big Dipper. When injustice occurs, roar loudly, act when it's time to act, bravely traverse through the 9 provinces. Little White also excitedly joined in the singing, hey ye ye, ai hey ye ye, hey ye ye, ai hey ye. Chen Yao was dumbfounded, no doubt, he is definitely the boss's rabbit, exactly alike. Qian Wanyang nodded and couldn't help but ask, what do you guys think the boss is planning to do now? Gu Yang shook his head, I don't know, but I'm sure that since the young marshal has come here with such fanfare, he definitely won't just stay at home playing games. Didn't you hear? Qin Feng scratched his chin, the young marshal's song mentioned, act when it's time to act. Is he talking about waiting for the right opportunity to strike? Upon hearing this, the 3 had a realization, a premonition that Wang Hao was about to stir things up again, and it would be something big. Based on their previous experiences, they knew that whenever Wang Hao showed weakness, it was the beginning of his wolf in sheep's clothing act. Just like selling military ranks to make the military department think he was no threat, he would then swiftly and unexpectedly seize control of the young martial army, leaving the leaders of the military department with no time to react. Now that Wang Hao had arrived saying he wouldn't go out for adventures, just staying home raising Little White and playing games, anyone who underestimated him was likely to be devoured by this tiger in sheep's clothing, bones and all. Low Star. 3rd level planet. Not too far from the human race military base on Mingshan Star. This place was originally human race territory, but after being occupied by the alien race, it had become a forward operating base for the alien race's offensives against the human race. At this moment, the members of the alien race were busy preparing for war, intending to welcome the human race children with a war. However, the level 9 members of the martial king of the alien race were all in closed-door cultivation, not coming out as they strived to break through to martial emperor to gain the upper hand in the upcoming war. In one of the tents, many bull men were gathered. The bull man seated at the head was the king of the bull man clan, Niu Qi. Beside Niu Qi was the little fox, Shi Feng, Meng Qi cousin and the strategist of the bull man clan. After Wang Hao left Beast King Star, the bull men had allied with the fox clan to embark on a conquest of the half-beast, bringing with them 20 million troops from the half-beast, an undeniable force within the alien race alliance. Niu Qi spoke gravely, our goal in attacking the human race is simple, to kidnap a high-level human and then trade for the return of our king. As soon as he finished speaking, the bull men's eyes gleamed red and they raised their arms shouting. For the bull demon king! For the bull demon king! Shi Feng rubbed his forehead in frustration, completely baffled why these bull men couldn't see that Wang Hao wasn't a bull man. Forget it, whether he is a bull man or not, this kid's future is not simple. Following him, we surely won't suffer, and if we can leave the alien star system, our Fox clan will definitely support him, Shi Feng murmured. As long as they could leave the alien star system, they wouldn't have to worry about their planet being devoured by dimension space, and their Fox clan could live in peace. With this thought, Shi Feng raised his arm, joining the bull men in shouting, for the bull demon king. Chapter 374. Ming Shan Star. Meeting room. Wang Hao sat there leisurely with Little White in his arms while the others were intensely discussing how to launch a counterattack against the alien race. I'm saying we should split our forces into 3 routes for the attack. It will definitely catch the alien race off guard. Dividing into 3 routes will scatter our numbers too thin. 2 routes would be better, one for a frontal assault and the other for a flanking maneuver. What's the point of splitting up? We only have 100 million troops combined. We're short by 200 million compared to the alien race. If we divide, what the hell are we even fighting for? Our equipment is superior to that of the alien race. We can take out 5 of theirs for every one of us. Bullshit. The alien race might not have good technology, but they are individually stronger than us. If it comes down to a melee, we'll definitely lose. Then we don't go for a melee. We'll wipe them out in space. You think the alien race is a bunch of idiots? If you say there's a big space battle, they'll just show up in space to fight you. Then let's destroy the planets they're stationed on and turn them to ash. Fuck, you're a damn idiot. Those are human race planets. Just because they're occupied by the alien race, we should destroy them. Rich guy, why don't you just buy the planet, and then we can bring the big guns and blow it up? That. I feel we should focus on reclaiming lost territory. We can't be too extreme. That's right. The planet is human race territory. We must reclaim it, and we must not destroy it unless absolutely necessary. Shuek Yunqin tugged at Wang Hao's sleeve, curious, why are you so quiet today? You usually enjoy these kinds of situations, right? Wang Hao sighed, my darling Yiling has gone to fend off the dark elves, so she's not here. That's why I need to keep a low profile and not cause trouble. What if someone beats me up? No sooner had he finished speaking than the four guys behind him felt embarrassed. Just a moment ago, they were proudly stating that they didn't mooch off women. Yet the next second, they were mooching so openly and shamelessly. Where did their integrity go? Can't you be serious for once? Shuek Yunqin massaged her temples. Wang Hao raised an eyebrow, at night, I'm serious like a refined scoundrel. Do you want to see? Shuek Yunqin rolled her eyes, turned her head away, and decided to ignore this shameless bastard. At this moment, Qian Wanyang tugged at Wang Hao, boss, look at that guy over there. He's been staring at you the whole time. Wang Hao turned his head and saw a 25 or 26-year-old man calmly watching him. It was as if in his eyes, there were no other people, no other sounds, just him. Is this guy bent? Wang Hao shivered. He was confident in his charm, but he'd pass on men, not keen on Li Yunyang's heavy tastes. Shuek Yunqin leaned in again and whispered, that man is named Huang Weiai, a member of the Yaotian Federation's Huang family. It's like the Xia family of the Interstellar Federation. Then, Li Xian joined in, chuckling, I've heard that Huang Weiai went to the Xia family to propose marriage but was chased out by Xia Weiwei with dogs. Qian Wanyang and his group couldn't help but sigh with emotions. Indeed, worthy of being the domineering little princess of the Xia family, she really didn't give face to anyone. Does that mean this guy is staring at me just because of Xia Weiwei? Wang Hao rolled his eyes and then curiously asked, and what's this Huang family from the Yaotian Federation? Li Xian was startled for a moment, then turned to glance at Qian Wanyang's group, you guys didn't tell him what the Xia family represents. Qian Wanyang's group exchanged looks, then Canon smiled and said, we thought the boss asked one of us already, but who knew, it turns out none of us did, so we never brought it up. I really can't with you guys, Shuek Yunqin rolled her eyes and explained, the reason why the Xia family and the Huang family have such special status is because they carry the bloodline of advanced human race. As long as they cultivate, they can reach at least the martial emperor level with minimal effort, martial saint easily with a bit of hard work, and if their talent's stronger, they can definitely reach the level of old monsters. Advanced human race? What is that? Wang Hao inquired with curiosity. Li Xian continued to explain, the human race was very powerful in ancient times, and for unknown reasons they perished. The humans from Earth are just a part of them, and there are many other human races that survived in other star systems. But they have retained some of the ancient human race's heritage, and their basic attributes are much stronger than ours, so we refer to them as the advanced human race. Are you saying that the Xia family and the Huang family can contact these advanced human races? Wang Hao asked with a frown. Shuek Yunqin nodded, they can indeed make contact with the advanced human race, and it can even be said that they are the chosen envoys of the advanced human races, with the purpose of recruiting talented geniuses. Recruiting geniuses? Wang Hao thought for a moment and asked, then have you heard of the star domain, the heavenly palace? Both Shuek Yunqin's and Li Xian's pupils suddenly contracted, their breathing becoming a bit rapid. How do you know about the heavenly palace? Wang Hao frowned, you haven't answered our question yet. Li Xian took a deep breath, I heard my master mention that the star domain includes billions of star systems, among which is our galaxy star system, and ruling the star domain is that legendary immortal second palace. Wang Hao murmured, so that woman had such a big background. No wonder she could take the little fox away directly. Little fox? Li Xian and Shuek Yunqin furrowed their eyebrows, recalling the little fox Wang Hao had flirted with on Beast King Star. Could it be that this little fox was now in the heavenly palace? Thinking of this, both Li Xian and Shuek Yunqin showed faces of envy. To enter the heavenly palace was known to foretell a future of terrorizing achievements. Wang Hao scratched his chin, musing with a thoughtful expression, it seems I must hurry and find the little fox, otherwise someone else might woo her away, and I'd be missing out on my meal. No sooner had he finished speaking than the four followers behind nearly stumbled to the ground. Boss, didn't you say you wouldn't live off a woman? Now not only are you doing it, you're going out of your way to knock on their door to do so, is this really okay? Li Xian tugged on Wang Hao's sleeve and whispered, Wang Hao, I think you'd better be careful. This Huang Weiai is not a simple man. His body's basic attributes are more than 10 times stronger than an average person. The way he's looking at you now, there's definitely nothing good. Wang Hao rolled his eyes, this is all Xia Weiwei's mess, why should I be the one to wipe her ass? Shuek Yunqin gave Wang Hao a sideways glance and said irritably, it's obviously trouble you stirred up yourself. Who told you to say Weiwei was your woman? My woman. Wang Hao thought for a bit, as if he had indeed used that line to discuss Xia Weiwei back at Gu Yang's home, that is, the Sky Sword Villa. Li Xian patted Wang Hao's shoulder, encouragingly saying, since it's trouble you've caused, face it like a man. I have no interest in fighting him. Wang Hao pursed his lips, I'll just find Xiang to deal with him later. Cough cough. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone choked. Could this scoundrel be any more shameless? Chapter 375. Conference Room. Xia Weiwei looked at the endless quarrel among everyone, her face growing colder and colder until she finally exploded, enough. I've decided, the entire army will advance to the border, there's no battle strategy, just one word, kill. At her words, everyone gaped at Xia Weiwei, certain that something was wrong with the girl's brain. To want the entire army to advance to the border, one must have absolute control over all soldiers, otherwise, who would risk their life for a leader they were not familiar with? And to desire absolute control over all soldiers was undoubtedly an attempt to undermine their authority. Would they agree to such a thing? Huang Weiai stood up, his voice cool, I support Lady Weiwei. If anyone in the Yaotian Federation dares to disobey in secret, I, Huang Weiai, swear upon the Huang family, will uproot his entire clan. As soon as he finished speaking, all the major powers of the Yaotian Federation were furious. Damn it, why should they foot the bill for his courting efforts? But thinking of Xia Weiwei's domineering temperament, if they dared to object, then with both the Huang family and the Xia family coming at them, they genuinely felt they couldn't resist. Thinking of this, the major powers of the Yaotian Federation reluctantly nodded in agreement. Xia Weiwei's lips curved, revealing her small canines as she turned to the various powers of the Interstellar Federation, what about you? You don't need me to take the Xia family army to visit your homes, do you? Liao Yunchuan nodded helplessly, our presidential palace will follow Miss Xia Weiwei's commands. Guan Tian, not willing to give in, grimaced, the 6th Army, too, will follow Miss Xia Weiwei's commands. Li Xian raised her little hand, I represent the Adventurers Guild and will follow Miss Xia Weiwei's commands. Shuek Yunqin nodded, I represent Skyfire Company and will also follow Miss Xia Weiwei's commands. Seeing 4 out of the 5 major powers of the Interstellar Federation make their stance, the rest of the people's gazes unanimously turned to Wang Hao. Though Wang Hao brought a 1,000,000-strong army and was also a marshal from the military department, he was representing the Potion Guild at this meeting. This was because Mai Meng, that young girl, was busy with a group of pharmacists concocting potions in the laboratory. Wang Hao looked around and said nonchalantly, the Potion Guild also supports Xia, and likewise, my young martial army will stay behind to protect Ming Shan Star, waiting to welcome your victorious return. The moment his words fell, the entire room burst into an uproar. What does Wang Hao mean by this? Does he plan to stay at home and not go out? Are you kidding me? Commanding 1,000,000 ace army troops and he chooses to hunker down at home. I think Wang Hao is definitely not happy, that's why he's acting like this. What does that mean? Think about it, if Wang Hao hadn't arrived late, he would have had an 80% chance of being the leader. That makes sense. Wang Hao coming with a 1,000,000-strong army probably wanted to make a name for himself worldwide, but someone beat him to the punch. That explains why Wang Hao refuses to send out troops. But I heard Wang Hao and Xia Weiwei were a couple, right? That was in the past. Look at how tirelessly Huang Weiai is supporting Xia Weiwei, Wang Hao is surely jealous. Yeah, even with strong talent, Wang Hao still has a huge gap compared to Huang Weiai. I heard that Wang Hao fought against an army of 300,000 all by himself, and the more he fought, the stronger he became. How could he be afraid of Huang Weiai? That only proves Wang Hao has good stamina, but if Huang Weiai goes for a quick battle, I bet Wang Hao really wouldn't stand a chance. That's true, given Huang Weiai's basic attributes are more than 10 times stronger than an ordinary person, belonging to the advanced human race. Xia Weiwei arrived in front of Wang Hao, fuming, now the alien race is bullying our human race, and you just hide at home. Are you even a man? That battle strategy of yours is just idiotic, you're basically asking to die. I don't share that particular hobby, Wang Hao curled his lip. And as for whether I'm a man, you can try that out tonight. You, Xia Weiwei was hopping mad. Wang Hao, taking a serious look at Xia Weiwei's chest, said, they say a nation cannot be peaceful without ample bosoms, and people cannot be charmed without grand curves. I think I should take back what I said and apologize to you. You're definitely capable of quelling the chaos in the world and restoring peace and quiet. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone present burst out laughing. How could this asshole be so shameless? What did Xia Weiwei ever do to you? Why must you say that about her? Although her bust was indeed a bit on the small side, her facial features were stunningly beautiful, a rare sight in this world, which completely made up for any shortcomings. Suitors were still chasing after her in droves. Wang Hao, shut up. Huang Weiai walked over, his face still calm but his eyes flashing with a cold light. Xia Weiwei glared at Huang Weiai and said, you're the one who should shut up. I'm talking to this asshole. What's it to you? Wang Hao nodded repeatedly, stepping forward to wrap his arm around Xia Weiwei's waist, giving Huang Weiai a provocative look. Kid, my relationship with Weiwei is unbreakable, stronger than heaven and earth. If you're the wind, then I'm the sand, not something you can sway with just a few words. Li Xian and Shuek Yunqin rubbed their foreheads in frustration, feeling sorry for Xia Weiwei. How did she end up with such a scoundrel? You should know, Xia Weiwei was always domineering, taking on whoever she wanted. But upon encountering Wang Hao, this shameless rascal, she was utterly outplayed, without a chance to turn the tables. Shameless rascal, let go of me. Xia Weiwei angrily slapped Wang Hao's hand away, huffing, Wang Hao, let me tell you, if you dare to stay at home this time, I will have the guts to charge you with desertion. Wow, I haven't seen you for a few days, little Xia, and you think you've got skills now. Wang Hao reached out with both hands, pinched Xia Weiwei's cheeks hard. Ow, let go. Xia Weiwei's face got pinched out of shape, her foot stamping in protest on the spot. Watching the two of them being so intimate, Huang Wei's eyes gleamed with a trace of ferocity. Stop. If I don't stop, what are you going to do about it? Wang Hao spoke dismissively, clearly not taking Huang Wei seriously. Since you're not stopping, then don't blame me for being rude. Huang Wei stepped forward, his entire body's furious aura instantly bursting forth. Brother, there's an order to everything. Wang Hao has a grudge with me first, so the person who should be impolite first is me. At the sound, everyone turned their heads, only to see Li Yuniang in white clothes, casually walking in the entrance, accompanied by a stunning woman. This was Kukla, formerly known as Kula. Wang Hao couldn't help but tease, they say Yunyang is spirited and unconventional, and indeed, seeing you today, your reputation is well deserved. Chapter 376. Wang Hao, cut the crap and draw your sword already. Li Yunyang snorted coldly, now, I have mastered the perfect step skill, I will definitely defeat you this time. Really? Wang Hao raised an eyebrow, in some respects, Yunyang is truly in a league of his own, I have long since admitted defeat. Qian Wanyang and Chen Ya rolled their eyes, their boss really had no shame, dealing such a heavy blow to Li Yunyang and still having the mood to crack jokes here. However, both of them were also very excited, unsure if Wang Hao would reveal Kukla's identity later. And after Li Yunyang finds out Kukla's identity, will he be so angry that he spits blood, or will he choose to completely change for love? It was really something to look forward to. I don't care who dominates or who defeats whom, if anyone dares to defy my orders today, I will make sure they regret it. Xia Weiwei, rubbing her cheeks that Wang Hao had pinched red, glared at him furiously. Wang Hao looked around with a light laugh, looks like there are quite a few people looking for trouble with me today. Wang Hao, you're shamelessly consistent, you brought this on yourself. Li Yunyang looked disgusted. Wang Hao gave Li Yunyang a bow, I dare not claim that, where could I ever love the beauty of damaged flowers as consistently as brother Yunyang? Kukla gave Wang Hao a pleading look, signaling him not to reveal his secret of being male. Wang Hao shivered, my goodness, this love is deep. At the same time, the little devil inside Wang Hao emerged, thinking the deeper the love, the greater the pain for Li Yunyang, and hence, the bigger the reward. With that in mind, Wang Hao decided not to expose Kukla, letting Li Yunyang have a memorable romance as an investment. At that moment, Guan Tian stepped forward and said coldly, Wang Hao, hand over the astronomy jade now, or don't blame me for being rude. Little White, sitting on Wang Hao's shoulder, paused, swiftly hid the astronomy jade necklace into the dimension space, and blinked innocently. This baby bunny doesn't have any astronomy jade. Wang Hao nodded repeatedly. Our Little White is naturally cute, no need for any astronomy jade to embellish it. No sooner had he spoken than a big what the hell popped up in everyone's mind at the scene. This duo had very thick skin indeed. They were outright lying through their teeth, weren't they? Wang Hao, I don't have time for your nonsense, today you will give it whether you want to or not, or don't blame me for being harsh. Guan Tian's eyes flashed coldly. Originally, he thought that as long as he brought the sharp light greatsword back, he could get the astronomy jade from Wang Hao leisurely. But who would have thought, the sharp light disappeared before even entering the Guan family's gate, resulting in the clan elders being very displeased. They insisted that he bring back the astronomy jade, or they would reconsider his status as the heir of the Guan family. So, no matter what, he had to get the astronomy jade this time. Wang Hao's face filled with anger. Guan Tian, your Guan family actually frames me like this, thinking I'm easy to bully, right? Everyone present rolled their eyes. His shamelessness was truly shocking. Li Yuniang drew out his huge sword and said coldly, Wang Hao, stop babbling, draw your sword. I don't care what grudge you have with Wang Hao, but right now, his opponent is me, Huang Wei said indifferently, his long sword also ringing sharply as he drew it. Guan Tian smirked coldly, I think you two are mistaken, Wang Hao has no time to battle you right now, he needs to hand over the sharp light first. Wang Hao curled his lip, don't mention just you three idiots, even everyone here, in my eyes, is all trash. No sooner had he spoken than the entire place erupted. How dare you, Wang Hao, to disrespect us like this? Everyone grab your weapons, let's chop this guy down. That's right, let him know his place. Don't think you can do whatever you want just because you are talented. I'll have you know many here are of martial king cultivation. That's right, even a martial arts sect dares to be arrogant in front of martial kings. Stop talking, just kill this bastard. Li Xian and the girls massaged their foreheads, totally bowing down to Wang Hao. This guy really was a trouble magnet, causing issues wherever he went. Seeking death. Huang Wei snorted coldly, his right hand flipped, and his sword unsheathed, a fierce wind suddenly erupted from the blade, tearing through the void with terrifying force. The next moment, Huang Wei's body leaned forward, stabbing towards Wang Hao like a whirlwind sweeping up leaves. Martial King Level 2. The smile gradually vanished from Wang Hao's face, and in that moment, he became intensely sharp, as if he were a sword drawn from its sheath. I had intended to test my sword on Li Yuniang, but since you've come to me, it'll be you, Wang Hao said, his lips curling slightly as a cold giant sword appeared in his hand, slightly lifted in the sunlight and reflecting a dazzling cold light. At the same time, Wang Hao's figure instantly blurred, turning into 7 shadows, yet it was impossible to tell which was real and which was fake. Heaven-breaking giant sword skill, third strike, phantom clone slash. Whoosh! Whoosh! Immediately, streaks of sword light burst through the air, and 7 shadowy figures rushed at Huang Wei. Huang Wei kept a stern face as he stabbed one of the Wang Haos. But the next second, Huang Wei's expression changed drastically, seeing that his sword had pierced Wang Hao easily, but no blood spurted out. Not good, this one is fake. Huang Wei didn't hesitate, turning around to strike at another Wang Hao attacking him. But as Huang Wei turned to defend, the Wang Hao he had stabbed earlier revealed a sinister smile at the corner of his mouth and then, clutching the hilt tightly, slowly stabbed towards Huang Wei's abdomen. No, this one is real. Huang Wei changed again and turned to parry the sword. Clang! A clear and piercingly loud sword cry rang out. You think it's over? Wang Hao's lips curled. At the sound, Huang Wei's pupils shrank violently, feeling Wang Hao becoming elusive again while an unprecedented sense of crisis rose behind him. Spurt! The next second, a sound of blood splattering was heard. Huang Wei's facial muscles twitched slightly as a deep, bone-exposing wound was sliced into his arm, and blood kept pouring out. All this happened in the blink of an eye, and by the time everyone realized what had happened, Wang Hao was looking at Huang Wei with an amused expression. After a moment, the crowd erupted. No way! Huang Wei was actually injured by Wang Hao. I must be dreaming, a level 6 martial arts sect member and a martial king level 2, they aren't even in the same dimension. The scariest part is, Huang Wei's basic attributes are stronger than ours, yet he was still challenged and surpassed by Wang Hao. Exactly how strong is Wang Hao's combat prowess? Why can't even Huang Wei match up to him? I really don't know, all I know is that Wang Hao is very strong, but there are no records of Wang Hao fighting with all his might. That's right, Wang Hao already dominates among the young generation in the Interstellar Federation, nobody can force him to go all out. Not just in the Interstellar Federation, he essentially dominates among the entire human race's younger generation. Better avoid provoking this guy in the future, otherwise there's no good days ahead. True, not only is Wang Hao powerful, but his personality is shameless to the point of having no friends, better to steer clear of him. Chapter 377. So this is the legendary advanced human race? I don't see anything so special, Wang Hao curled his lip. You, Huang Wei had a murderous look in his eyes, swearing in his heart that he must slaughter Wang Hao. You seem really keen to kill me. Wang Hao said with a playful smile, softly speaking the word, explode. Ah! Huang Wei let out a scream as his arm suddenly burst open, blood spurting out. Young master. A few guards quickly stepped forward to help Huang Wei up. Li Yuniang's eyelid twitched, and the desire to battle with Wang Hao in his heart instantly faded. He had thought that as long as he mastered the naturally perfect steps and the method to counter the heavenly tyrant power, he could fight on par with Wang Hao. But as he was improving, so was Wang Hao, and his progress was even more monstrous, especially those 7 phantoms, which were techniques he had never seen before. If it was him facing Wang Hao now, he probably wouldn't be able to take a single strike and would be directly defeated. Thinking of this, Li Yuniang's forehead broke out in a cold sweat, feeling that he had become somewhat complacent recently and must put in more effort. Kukla, as if sensing Li Yuniang's mood, extended a small hand to tightly hold Li Yuniang's and gave him an encouraging look. At this moment, Li Yuniang felt the warm sunlight shining down on him, truly thankful to the heavens for letting him meet this understanding woman when his life had hit a low point. Especially after Kukla knew of the suffering he endured in the Yaotian Federation and still did not abandon him, instead telling him that such things she could accept. Every time he thought of this, Li Yuniang felt even more affection for this little woman, vowing to give her the happiest life. Kid, weren't you acting all arrogant just now? Wang Hao said with a smug face, now what, turned into a 3-legged frog. Huang Wei kept a cold face and said nothing, but his heart was shocked by Wang Hao's terrifying combat strength. His basic attributes were more than 10 times higher than a normal person's. Moreover, his cultivation had reached the 2nd level martial king, 6 levels higher than Wang Hao, crossing a major division. Yet in the end, he was defeated in just a single encounter. Who could accept such a downfall? Just then, a soldier rushed in. It's bad, the alien race has launched an attack. Upon hearing this, everyone present was shocked and quickly activated their smart bracelets to issue the command for a military assembly. Xia Weiwei raised her arm and called out, everyone, don't panic, Miss shall lead the Xia family army to resist the alien race first. You all assemble the rest of the troops and come to support immediately. After speaking, Xia Weiwei snapped her fingers towards the black-clothed guards behind her, and then the group hurriedly left. Soon, 5 huge courage battleships rose into the air, charging into the pitch-black universe. Wang Hao looked up as the 5 courage battleships departed, muttering, the Xia family is really something. Just one family has raised so many private armies, and their strength is even stronger than the Ace army. Shuek Yunqin glanced at Wang Hao and said softly, what you've seen of the Xia family private army is only half of it. They have a total of 1 million soldiers, and their combat strength is unmatched even by the guards of the president's mansion. That's strong. Wang Hao was surprised. Li Xian nodded and explained, the Xia family has access to an enhancing potion that can increase a person's basic attributes several times over. That's also why the Xia family private army dominates the Interstellar Federation. Wang Hao curled his lip, if that's the case, then my young martial army's future strength will definitely surpass theirs. Li Xian and Shuek Yunqin exchanged a look, both seeing shock in each other's eyes. What does Wang Hao mean by this? Could it be that he has developed a potion that enhances basic attributes? If that's indeed the case, how powerful would the army become once the soldiers of the young martial army exchange their military exploits for the inheritance crystal? But would those noble lords let Wang Hao continue with this? Qian Wanyang approached Wang Hao and asked, Boss, what do we do now? Wang Hao scratched his chin, let's go have a look first. To tell the truth, I've yet to see what this interstellar war is really like. Qian Huanyang nodded and turned to deliver the orders. At this moment, Ling Xiao hurried in from outside. Junior brother, are you all right? Wang Hao rolled his eyes. Brother, can't you wish me well for once? Must you ask me if something's wrong every time we meet? I don't have time to bicker with you, there's actual trouble this time. Ling Xiao whispered into Wang Hao's ear, my father sent me to warn you, be very careful recently. The president has murderous intent towards you, they plan to use the alien race to assassinate you. A chill flashed across Wang Hao's eyes as he coldly laughed, they want to use someone else's knife to kill me, but we'll see if they've got the skills. Don't be careless, Ling Xiao cautioned. This time, to prevent future troubles, the president has specially sent Liao Yunchuan with 200,000 guards. If it comes to a fight with your young martial army, I'm afraid your side will be in peril. Wang Hao nodded, understanding. His young martial army currently had only 10,000 people at the ace army level, the remaining 99,000, due to equipment and other reasons, just couldn't improve their combat effectiveness. Since the guard force was inherently stronger than the ace army, should a conflict arise, it wouldn't be implausible for them to take on 5 at a time. Of course, this was just the outcome of a melee. If it came to an interstellar war, the 10 courage battleships he commanded would surely send these bastards straight to the afterlife. Li Xian asked curiously, Wang Hao, brother Ling, are you guys all right? Wang Hao nodded with a sense of grievance, Li Xian my darling, someone wants to beat up your husband, what do you think we should do? Li Xian rolled her eyes and said in all seriousness, then I must find your killer and present them with a silk banner inscribed with the true hero for ridding us of a scourge. Giggle. As soon as the words fell, Shui Yunqin started laughing so hard that she had to bend over. Li Xian gave Wang Hao a glance, then took Shui Yunqin by the hand and left, unwilling to stay and watch this scoundrel be scoundrelly. What the heck? Wang Hao stared dumbfounded at the departing figure of Li Xian, unable to believe that such words could come from her mouth. It was a real blow to his heart. Ling Xiao smiled and asked, Junior brother, with so many beauties around you, who exactly do you plan to go after? Wang Hao glanced at Ling Xiao, the emperor isn't in a hurry, yet the eunuch is. Ling Xiao's face turned completely dark, how could this bastard hold a conversation? Is that how he talks to his own brother? Just then, Qian Huanyang returned, boss, the young martial army is ready and can depart at any time. Wang Hao nodded, and the group turned towards the courage battleship. Watching Wang Hao's departure, Huang Wei furrowed his brows, whispered something to a guard beside him, and then turned to go heal his wounds. The guard boarded a small spacecraft and shot into the sky. At the same time, battleships from Mingshan Star rose into the air, rushing towards the dark abyss of the universe. Chapter 378. In the pitch-black universe, countless spaceships gathered, including large warships, small spacecraft, and various types of mecha. Boom boom boom. Missiles were fired continuously, their roaring sounds incessant, lighting up the dark universe in flashes. As time passed, one by one, the small spacecraft and mecha were shot down. And their pilots would immediately activate their ejection systems, flying toward the nearest planet, and then the two sides would engage in close quarters combat on the ground. After all, both sides had a clear objective, which was to weaken the other's power at all costs. Soon, the battlefield became thoroughly lively. A grand interstellar war was taking place in the universe, with unending sounds of gunfire. On the nearby planets, soldiers who had survived were everywhere, with both sides organizing troops to engage in a knife fight that tested both courage and strength. Wang Hao sat in the cockpit of the courage battleship, watching hundreds of video feeds coming from the front lines, his face very calm. Boss, both sides have invested 200 million troops into the battle, and it's been 8 hours now. Shouldn't we take action? Qian Huanyang asked. Wang Hao countered, do we have a lot of funding? Qian Huanyang shook his head, President Zhongli has just started, and we haven't begun making money yet, so funds are limited. Wang Hao asked again, is that bunch of aliens very rich then? Qian Huanyang continued to shake his head, the alien star system has limited resources, otherwise, they wouldn't have been constantly suppressed by the human race. And the aliens choosing to attack us now is simply an attempt to plunder resources. Wang Hao curled his lip, since there's no money to be made, why should we fight them? Besides, your boss is extremely poor at the moment, with no money at all. Ling Xiao stood in shock, finding himself convinced by Wang Hao's words, feeling that they made a lot of sense. Qin Feng frowned, but young marshal, should we just watch our allies fight bloody battles while we sit back and do nothing? Wang Hao nodded, I think it's quite good, this kind of level of interstellar war is not easy to come by. Later, give each soldier a bucket of popcorn and have everyone watch together. The faces of those present turned dark, wondering whether this bastard had come to fight or to watch a live version of an interstellar war, and it's even a private screening. Young Marshal, what you're doing is really... Qin Feng's face turned ashen. Wang Hao waved his hand to cut off Qin Feng's words, stop complaining. If you're bored, go observe their fighting styles, find your own shortcomings so that when it's our turn to fight, we won't be caught off guard. Find your own shortcomings. Qin Feng paused, seemingly understanding something, he turned and left, intending to go back and study hard on what constituted an interstellar war to reduce casualties on their side. Ling Xiao curiously watched Qin Feng's retreating back. He didn't know this person, but it wasn't hard to discern from Wang Hao's words that this person's position in the corps was quite extraordinary. Qian Wanyang came over and introduced, his name is Qin Feng, a talented graduate from Tianbei University, with strong aptitude. President Su Mu evaluated him and believed that his abilities are not much less than those of Marshal Chen Yao. So the boss recruited him to the young martial army and put him in charge of managing the corps. Aside from a few major matters, it's basically Qin Feng who calls the shots. Ling Xiao nodded in realization. With Wang Hao's erratic personality, if no one helped him manage the army, it would surely be in chaos within half a year. Therefore, it made sense for Wang Hao to find Qin Feng to help him manage the corps. At that moment, Wang Hao stood on the chair, excitedly shouting, "Fuck, where are you running to? Didn't you see a spaceship has come to support you? Holy shit, are you an idiot? They're less equipped than you, just charge in. Motherfucker, do you think you're some super soldier? You actually dare to go up alone and challenge a whole group of them?" Ling Xiao rubbed his temples, feeling a headache coming on. People were here to fight a battle, yet he was here to watch the show. This guy, he didn't know whether to call him thick-skinned or full of confidence. Qian Wanyang tugged at the excited Wang Hao, "Boss, look, isn't that the bull man?" Wang Hao paused, looked at the screen Qian Wanyang was pointing to, and saw on a planet, a group of bull men with fierce expressions, clutching giant axes, fiercely chopping down the soldiers of the human race. And while killing, they shouted loudly, "For the Bull Demon King!" Bull Demon King! Ling Xiao frowned and turned to ask, "Junior brother, if I remember correctly, you took up the name of the Bull Demon King when you were on Beast King Star, right?" Wang Hao was also taken aback. Back on Beast King Star, he had only jokingly become the king of the Bull Man tribe, and he hadn't expected these guys to still remember him, still treating him as their king. Could this be the so-called charm of a leader? This is getting interesting. Wang Hao smiled, pointing to the Niu Qi who was furiously chopping away, "Qian Wanyang, take some people and catch that bull man. Remember not to hurt him, understand?" Qian Wanyang nodded, waved his hand, and led a large squad of soldiers out. "Junior brother, what do you want with the bull man? Surely you're not thinking of taking them in to bolster your own forces?" Ling Xiao asked curiously. "Why not?" Wang Hao's lips curled upward. Ling Xiao frowned and said, "I admit that bull men are strong fighters and, at present, they seem easy to control. But do you think the higher-ups of the human race will really let you so blatantly take bull men into your ranks to enhance your own combat strength?" Chen Yao quickly advised, Boss Ling is right. Those aristocrats love to exaggerate things. If they pin a charge of colluding with the enemy on you and sway those ignorant civilians, your reputation will be ruined." Wang Hao curled his lip. Although he wished for his reputation to be ruined, he certainly wouldn't be stupid enough to let those nobles taint it and end up with no benefits. Besides, he now held a trump card in the bull men. He had to reap enough benefits before letting his reputation go to hell, otherwise, it would be a disservice to the sudden good fortune of this trump card. Soon, Qian Wanyang, leading a squad of soldiers, arrived on a planet. Pointing at Niu Qi, who was like a killing god embodied, he said, "The young marshal's order is to capture that bull man alive. Remember to leave as soon as you've got him, absolutely no lingering in battle." "Yes." The soldiers nodded, then drew their weapons and charged towards Niu Qi. "These people are from the Martial King." Seeing the soldiers rushing towards him, Niu Qi's face turned pale. Such high-level soldiers should belong to the human race's ace army. Why would they appear here? Given that his cultivation was only at level 9 martial arts sect, he was stationed in a lower-level battlefield. Facing these martial kings, he had no chance of winning. With this thought, Niu Qi grabbed his giant axe and ran as fast as his legs could carry him, running for my life. The other bull men were taken aback and then also started to flee after Niu Qi. The surrounding members of the alien clan were instantly stunned in place. Were these the same dumb, simple-minded bull men they had heard of? Weren't they supposed to be single-minded and never knew how to turn back? Chapter 379. Young Martial Army. On the Courage battleship, Niu Qi was tightly bound and standing there. Although the bull men had gained enlightenment and knew to flee when they couldn't win, Qian Wanyang had brought only troops from the Ace Army, all with martial king cultivation, and equipped with Ace Army gear. In such circumstances, if Niu Qi had escaped, the Ace Army might as well have slit their own throats. In the end, amid the crying and wailing of a group of bull men, Niu Qi was captured and brought back. At that moment, Niu Qi's face wore a tragic expression, having braced himself for the worst of being skinned and deboned by humans. Thinking of the Bull Demon King, Niu Qi felt extremely distressed. Their king had not only bestowed upon them dignity but also wisdom. He had hoped to rescue their king, and then follow him to conquer the world. But who would have thought that before the king could be rescued, he would first have to report to Yellow Springs? Thinking this, Niu Qi cried out tragically, "My king, in the next life, I will definitely follow you through thick and thin." After speaking, Niu Qi's eyes turned red, his breathing became rapid, his body emitted a burst of red light, accompanied by a pungent stench of blood. Qian Wanyang and the others were alarmed. "Not good, this is the berserk transformation of the bull man race, and it's an extreme berserker, he's fighting for his life." "Stop!" Wang Hao walked in from outside. "You?" Niu Qi widened his eyes in disbelief at Wang Hao. Wang Hao waved his hand. "Untie him, I have something to say to him." "But young marshal this," the soldiers hesitated. "Don't worry, he's merely at the martial arts sect level of cultivation, he can't pose a threat to me," Wang Hao said with a slight smile. The soldiers nodded, released Niu Qi bindings, and respectfully withdrew. After all, Wang Hao, with his ability to fight from martial arts sect to martial king level, would not be challenged by this bull man, no matter how defiant it was. Once everyone had left, Niu Qi tentatively asked, "Are you, the Bull Demon King?" "Yes, I am your king, but my horns..." Wang Hao's eyes teared up as he pulled out 2 horns. "Why would this happen?" Niu Qi exclaimed furiously. Wang Hao wiped the tears from the corner of his eye and solemnly declared, "Because I found a human who looked exactly like me, so I cut off my own horns and impersonated him, all so that the bull man race could have a safe haven." "Cut them off?" Niu Qi was shocked, that was too extreme. Wang Hao sang tragically, "The mountains and rivers linger in my dreams, it's been many years since I was close to my homeland, but no matter what, it cannot change, my Chinese heart, oops, my bull man heart, although the appearance has changed, my heart is still a bull man's heart, my ancestors had already branded everything about me with a bull man mark. My king." Niu Qi was instantly moved to tears. What a great king! To propagate their race, he had sacrificed the pride of being a bull man and chose to become a human, enduring such indignity to such an extent, truly admirable and honorable. Outside, Ling Xiao and others were stunned. It was such a pity this bastard wasn't winning Oscars for acting. The lies came effortlessly, paired with outstanding acting skills, and the dramatically touching song really could deceive anyone they wanted. Suddenly, Niu Qi shook his head and looked at Wang Hao warily. "I won't just believe you based on a few words. What if you're a human impersonating someone? First answer me, what does rolling baby bull mean?" Ling Xiao and the others were stunned. "What does that mean? Could there be a secret passphrase?" Wang Hao rolled his eyes. "Get lost." Niu Qi's eyes lit up, then he continued to ask, "What does get lost mean?" "It means, stay away from me," Wang Hao replied helplessly. He regretted having given these foolish bulls the enlightenment potion, now they were all too clever. Niu Qi couldn't hold back anymore and began to cry, rushing towards Wang Hao. "Stop!" Wang Hao put out his hand to stop the silly bull lest he be squashed flat. "Oh!" Niu Qi stopped and obediently stood to the side, but his joy was evident. Satisfied, Wang Hao nodded his head. Indeed, their great Chinese strategy was effective. A simple adaptation of China heart had tamed these bull men, props to the great motherland. Wang Hao stepped forward and whispered, "The person I'm impersonating is named Wang Hao, the son of a marshal from the human race. Now, using his identity, I've gained control over 1 million of the Ace army. Just give me a little more time, and I'll be able to rule over the human race. Then, our bull man race will truly rise. Niu Qi trembled all over when he heard this. Truly, he was a king bestowed upon the bull men by the heavens. After being captured by the human race, not only was he not skinned and deboned, but he had also become a marshal of the human race and commands 1 million of the Ace army. Such capability was truly astonishing to Niu Qi. Wang Hao continued, now, I need the bull men to act as insiders for me, tell me the exact plans of the alien race, and I will also inform you of the human race's plans. Niu Qi scratched his head, puzzled, King, I understand why you are telling me the human race's plans, but why do you need the alien race's plans? Won't that lead to heavy losses for their troops? You're so dense. Wang Hao slapped Niu Qi's head. I kill the alien race, you kill the human race. This way, we can elevate our status. Then, with a strong alliance, whether it's the human race or the alien race, all will have to bow at our feet. Niu Qi suddenly understood, then excitedly said, King, do you mean for us bull men to lead both the human race and the alien race? Wang Hao shook his head, serious, lead the human race, handling the alien race would be too draining. What I want is for all creatures to tremble at the sight of my symbol, scared enough to wet their pants. Niu Qi scratched his head, still not completely understanding Wang Hao's plan. But all he needed to know was that supporting Wang Hao would make the bull man race formidable in the future. Anything else was beyond his concern. Wang Hao shook his head helplessly, these dull-witted bulls might have become aware, but their dislike for thinking had not changed. Well, that made them easier to manage. After giving some brief instructions, Niu Qi was taken away by Chen Yao, preparing to secretly send him back. Wang Hao handed 2 horns to Jian Wanyang, cook these for me. Tonight, I'm having horn soup. Jian Wanyang stood shocked, though they were props, after all, they were horns from a bull man king, and to just boil them like that seemed quite casual. Ling Xiao came in, frowning, brother, trading intel with the bull men if anyone finds out, this isn't just fun and games. Besides, this will cost our human race overall strength. Wang Hao pursed his lips, now those nobles have put the knife to my neck. Do you think I should just sit and wait for death? But you can't collaborate with the alien race, if they catch you, you'll be at a disadvantage, Ling Xiao advised. Don't worry, I'm only cooperating with the bull men, and I can control them. As for the other alien races, they'll become my military exploits, and none of those who want to kill me will get away. Wang Hao's eyes gleamed with a cold light, determined to make those nobles pay for trying to kill him. Ling Xiao thought about it and could only sigh helplessly. He knew it was hard to change Wang Hao's mind and just hoped nothing too serious would result. Brother, don't blame me for not looking out for you, join my young martial army and your military exploits will exceed others. Wang Hao patted Ling Xiao's shoulder. Ling Xiao's mouth curled up, military exploits coming to me on their own? Brother has no reason to refuse. As their conversation ended, the two exchanged smiles, understanding each other without further words. Chapter 380. Time flew by. 2 days hurried past. The great war between the human race and the alien race also concluded amidst gun smoke and wailing. At Mingshan Star, in the command room, various powers of the human race were holding a post-battle summary meeting. This time, in the battle with the alien race, the casualties on both sides reached 8 million, both suffering heavy losses. Xia Weiwei said gravely, the alien race's technology is behind ours, and they are no match for us in intergalactic warfare, but we are not their match in close quarters combat. Now our ammunition is running low, so what should we do next? Liao Yunchuan raised his hand, it's simple, just have the higher-ups allocate more ammunition, and we can wipe them out in space. Are you an idiot, Mr. Liao? Mo Junlin curled his lip, the Dark Elves are the #1 enemy of our human race. Using so much ammunition against the alien race is making a mountain out of a molehill. No sooner had he spoken than everyone in the room nodded in agreement. That's right, ammunition is now prioritized for supply elsewhere, and we have very little left to use. The higher-ups want us to fend off the alien race, it's just to train us. If everything is solved with firepower, what do we need to be here for? Exactly, if we had overwhelming firepower, even a pig could lead us to victory. So you mean to say, preserve firepower and engage in close quarters combat with the alien race? We must preserve it. Every missile we save here could mean a better chance of victory there. That makes sense. From now on, use only laser weapons, those don't cost money. Laser weapons might not cost money, but the maintenance afterward is incredibly frightening. Better to use as little as possible. Alas, times have changed. Now we can only tighten our belts and get by. If it wasn't for the military merits, I wouldn't have come to this wretched place. Not only is there no benefit to be gained, but even firing a cannon involves penny pinching. Brother, look on the bright side, the alien race is poor to begin with, what kind of benefit were you expecting to gain? The alien race may be poor, but those alien beauties are incredibly seductive and alluring. Right, especially the women from the Fox clan, they are absolutely irresistible. If any of you captures a woman from the Fox clan, I will pay 100 million to buy her. 100 million? I'll pay 200 million. I'll offer 300 million. Listening to the discussion devolving, Xia Weiwei slammed the table. Shut up, all of you. The next person who dares to talk about such vulgar things, I'll cut him down with one sword. Seeing Xia Weiwei's anger, the room immediately fell silent. But just as the room quieted down, a loud snoring suddenly stood out. Hoo. Everyone turned to look and saw Wang Hao sprawled out on the table, fast asleep. Next to him, Ling Xiao tugged at Wang Hao, whispering, "Junior brother, wake up quickly." Wang Hao lifted his head, rubbing his bleary eyes. Is the meeting over? Let's go then. I still need to go back and play League of Legends. Having said that, he got up and walked outside, completely disregarding everyone in the room. Xia Weiwei clenched her fists tightly, her forehead covered in black lines, wishing she could step forward and tear this bastard to pieces. Mo Junlin furrowed his brows. He thought he could use this battle to incite internal conflicts within the Interstellar Federation, allowing himself to stand out in this fight. But who knew Wang Hao had no intention of leading troops into battle at all? How could that possibly escalate the internal conflicts within the Interstellar Federation? At that moment, Li Yuniang stepped forward to stop Wang Hao, saying gravely, "Wang Hao, no matter what, you are a marshal. Shouldn't you be more concerned about protecting our people and country?" Wang Hao curled his lip. "How I become a marshal is my own business. What does it have to do with you, a noble's lackey?" "You," Li Yuniang said, choked with anger. "Let's all say less," Ling Xiao stood up and quickly suggested. "Personally, I think after such a massive battle, the alien race won't be able to organize such a large campaign anytime soon. Why don't we break into smaller groups and earn military merits based on the number of alien race heads we collect?" No sooner had he finished speaking than everyone in the room thought it over and began nodding in agreement. Ling Xiao is right, after the big fight, both the alien race and we need to adjust. Since we can't launch a large-scale battle, let's engage in guerrilla warfare. This is indeed a good idea. Earn military merits by proving your worth, and if you disagree, head to the battlefield. But what if the alien race suddenly launches a large-scale attack? Nonsense, if they attack on a large scale, we'll join forces to fight them. But what if we don't retreat in time and the alien race devours us? Then you can only blame your bad luck. If you don't have the skills, how can you expect to earn military merits? Xia Weiwei looked around and said coldly, "Since everyone agrees, I hereby announce that all forces are free to strike at will and collect military merits based on the number of heads they take." After the meeting ended, Liao Yunchuan passed by Wang Hao and Ling Xiao, only to hear Ling Xiao say in a low voice, "Junior brother, have you received any messages from that side? When are we setting out? I can't wait to earn military merits." Liao Yunchuan's pupils suddenly narrowed. What did this mean? Was Wang Hao privy to some insider information? Thinking this, Liao Yunchuan instantly realized that Wang Hao must have successfully infiltrated someone into the alien race and obtained the latest intelligence. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so leisurely uninterested in competing for military merits. After all, the military merits this time could be exchanged for various strategic materials as well as rare treasures. He didn't believe Wang Hao would ignore these things. Plus, with Ling Xiao's suggestion to break the group into individuals, it looked like they wanted to hog all the glory for themselves. "Nice thought, but you're still overlooking one thing," Liao Yunchuan said with a cold smile, his face calm as he walked past Wang Hao, as if he had heard nothing. Watching Liao Yunchuan's retreating back, Ling Xiao nudged Wang Hao, "Do you think he'll believe it?" Wang Hao's mouth quirked slightly. If there was any expression on his face, then I wouldn't be sure. But he's too calm, it's clearly fake, so he'll definitely make a move. Ling Xiao nodded and couldn't help asking, little brother, don't you think we're being a bit too unscrupulous? Wang Hao rolled his eyes, if someone is out to kill you, would you just stick out your neck for them to chop? Ling Xiao shook his head, I certainly don't have such a hobby. If someone wants to kill me, I definitely won't let them off easily. There you go, all I'm doing is striking first for the advantage. Wang Hao clapped Ling Xiao on the shoulder. Ling Xiao gave Wang Hao a disdainful look. It sounded nice to call it striking first, but behind the scenes, he was scheming on how to use Liao Yunchuan, the pig, to lure over the alien race, the big tiger. Then haha, slaughtering the tiger, enjoying the tiger meat, and by the way, butchering Liao Yunchuan, the pig, for a stew.